they light the flame. Cigars in hand, never playing tame. Pour the whiskey, let it burn real slow. On the Real Smoke Podcast, the stories flow. Guess they're rolling with a spark in their eyes, talking life's truths and throwing lies. Laughter crackles like a fire alive. Cuba to Kentucky, they always thrive. Real smoke rises in the air tonight. Whiskey's bold, they keep it tight. Stories spark like a flaming glow. Mick and Charles stealing the show.
Welcome to the Real Smoke Podcast with your host, Mick and Charles, the podcast that's all about real people, real cigars, and real smoke. Coming live from the Real Smoke Virtual Cigar Lounge, bringing you the best of cigars, whiskey, and all the good times in between. This is more than just a podcast, it's a community of cigar lovers. So grab your favorite smoke, pour a drink, and join us as we dive into all things cigars, whiskey, and just having a damn good time. This is the Real Smoke Podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 29, and I hear the birds are already chirping. They're applauding for us already. Wait till the geese start honking. That would be great. Freaking geese.
What's up, buddy? Freaking geese, drag racing, birds. Here we go already. So I'll be on mute most of the night. I'll just nod my head and keep it rolling, brother. Let's go.
Well, happy Thursday. Wait, it's not Thursday, is it?
No, it's not.
It's not.
But
well, anyways, we are your host. That guy over there's Mick. I'm the sidekick. I'm Charles. We're going to do this thing today. It is not a normal day. It's Tuesday. It's the first game of a doubleheader.
It is, and special guest.
The first game of a doubleheader.
It's amazing.
Hey, we tonight's guest could not be on Thursday, so we told him to pick any other day, and he said Tuesday. We said, let's rock and roll, and we went ahead and did it. And then my happy little butt decided that when I was going through my little bookie calendar and was like, oh, okay, cool. We need to do the next week after this guest. So I flipped it over and said, okay, we'll do the Thursday. Not realizing that the week ended in the middle and the new one started, so I double teamed and double booked. And so we have Tim on tonight. And then we have Pete on Thursday. So we're doing a doubleheader this week. So it's going to be completely awesome. So we got two of the best names in cigars on in the same week. What more could we ask for? Good friends, good smokes. What more?
Busy, but completely worth it. Completely worth it. Here we go.
It's not busy. Not busy at all. Not busy. It's not busy. Who's busy? Are you busy? I'm not busy. I done lost my mind about 7 hours ago, and when Mick says that he hasn't heard from me until 20 minutes before a show starts, he says, I know you're busy. And I literally, I'm usually home the hour before a show starts, able to start getting ready. Tonight, I was lucky to get home 20 minutes before the show started. So, but anyways, before we get started, and I know we've already started talking, before we get started, we need to thank some special people tonight. Let's thank the Cigar Vault.
The Real Smoke Podcast is brought to you.
Ready, set, and... We don't know. I'm always on it, but they're not here.
It disappeared.
Let's see.
The Real Smoke Podcast is brought to you by the Cigar Vault Oakdale, your ultimate destination for premium cigars and unforgettable experiences. Whether you're a seasoned aficionado or just starting your cigar journey, they've got you covered. Find them on Instagram at Cigar Vault Oakdale or online at thecigarvault.com. Here's a treat for our listeners. Use promo code RealSmoke to save 10% on your next order. Let the Cigar Vault Oakdale unlock your next great cigar.
Yeah, check them out tonight. And by the way, if you use the code RealSmoke for tonight only, because the Cigar Vault loves our guest and thinks our guest is fantastic. If you use it just for tonight only, use code RealSmoke, you're going to save 15%. So just saying, do that. Yeah. So
we appreciate Norm for that one.
I know we just started. Yeah, huge.
We appreciate Norm for that, and also Tim did mention before we came on that he has a funny story about the Cigar Vault. So I would like to maybe hear that live on the air if Tim's up for it. That's up to him.
I think we can do that one. So how's your week going so far? I know we're just into Tuesday, but
yeah, man, it's been a busy week as always. Maybe not quite as busy as yours, but it's been busy. I got a couple little things for you here that I wrote down. Couple shout outs. I first wanted to say thanks to Norm. It sounds like it's a Norm show tonight, but I'm going to say thanks to Norm. He did get us to our followers. Norm. On our followers on Facebook, we needed to stream live there tonight. But for anyone that's waiting on that, apparently it's not going to happen. I could let Charles fill you in on that then. Facebook's being a pain, but we'll get there. And I also wanted to give a shout out. I'm going to butcher this guy's name. I know you have a hard time believing I'm going to butcher a word or a name or anything, but so guy reached out to us today when we were trying to get those followers on Facebook so we could stream live, and apparently he owns a cigar company in Spain, and apparently it's a pretty prominent name in cigars over the years, and I just don't know, and I'm probably going to butcher it. It's Rafael Cifuentes. I think that's actually probably pretty close. It's the Alteza Reals Cigar Company. I got to be pretty close, but he can yell at me later. But anyway, dude's been great, and he's apparently a fan.
I can't correct you, and I'm sure everybody on here can. So,
but yeah, no, he was great today. He also got us a bunch of followers to try to get to that number, and we communicated back and forth all day. And dude's great, and he loves what we're doing. He loves our show, and he's been a big fan, man, and just helping us out, and going to send us some sample stuff, and I'm excited to try it. So great dude, man. It's always cool to make those connections.
That's awesome. I can't wait to learn more about him either. I haven't heard of him, so it's I always I love learning about new brands. From what they sound, they're not new, but it's new to me, so I love learning about that one. But yeah, Facebook informed me that we met a number of people that we needed to be able to stream off of Facebook, but we're too young. So we need, they basically said, give it 30 days. So.
Well, I guess we'll wait 30 days. Not that we really have a choice, but
let's see. Before we get rocking and rolling tonight, yeah. We have a few people in the chats right now. We got Lou's jumped in here really quickly. Lou is here tonight. Everybody say hi to Lou. Frank Ranger Proud is on here. Let's say hi to Frank. Howlin' Big Al is on here. Get Your Ends Up's on here. Mitch is on here. Robert Kortner's on here with 13 Knives. And Greg is on here. So we have a lot of good people on here hanging out and getting ready to watch the show. So let's go ahead and talk about what who we got, what we're smoking, and all that good stuff. Let me pull up all the wonderful goodies. Tonight, we do have a cigar that we are smoking tonight. And that cigar is...
We are smoking the Oz Family Cigars Bosphorus. The wrapper, Ecuadorian Habano. Binder, Ecuadorian Connecticut. Nicaraguan Jalapa. Filler, it's Nicaraguan. Price is around $13.50. And this is brought to you tonight by the Cigar Vault Oakdale.
There we go. And check out that beautiful cigar. Such a gorgeous one. All right. So before we bring on our guest, we do need to... Oh, yes. I mean, we got to do the same thing. It's right there.
It's right there.
So huge thanks to Cigar Vault for all that you guys do for us. Cigar is fantastic. We're going to smoke it up tonight. We do need to bring on our guest, but we do have a sponsor for our guest tonight, and it is our newest sponsor who has been on here, and we debuted them last week. It is Destination Cigars. Tonight's guest is with Destino Cigars. Destination Cigars. Step into the world of cigars like never before at Destination Cigar Lounge, home of the exclusive Destino cigar brand. Whether you are kicking back at Governor's Crossing in Sevierville, Tennessee, savoring the vibes at New River in Beckley, West Virginia, or soaking up the rich aroma at Almost Havana in Hurricane, West Virginia, every visit is an adventure. From top-tier cigars to expert recommendations and a laid-back atmosphere, it's the perfect place to relax, connect, and enjoy the craft. If you are looking for bold and unforgettable flavors, escape to the world of Destino Cigars. Kick back with the rich Mexican San Andreas Dividend, enjoy the smooth intrigue of the censored Sumatra, or fire up the bold and flavorful Escape Habano. For more information, you can follow them on Instagram at destination_cigars, or you can explore more by visiting them online at destinationcigarlounge.com, or take a journey to one of their 3 locations in West Virginia and Tennessee. No matter where your cigar journey takes you, every blend is an experience worth savoring. Where the road ends, the perfect smoke begins at Destination Cigars. And a huge thanks to our new sponsor, Destination Cigars, for everything that you guys are doing for us. I was just there last weekend hanging out with our brother Mitch. He won last week's prize, so I went there and gave it to him in person. One more shout out really quickly. Do have to do this one because I just remembered it. I forgot to put it in my notes. Hell, I didn't even do half my notes tonight. But I know we closed out our Hat Palooza last week. We did mail out the final hat that we had for round 1. And this morning I woke up to an awesome message from Hayes Gray Cigars and said, "Hey brother, are you guys still doing Hat Palooza?" And I said, "We are. We're getting ready to post round number 2 coming up soon. And we've already been talking that if any brand owners, whiskey brand, cigar brands, or accessory brand owners has a hat that they would like to send 2 of them out, what we'll do is we'll wear one, promote one, and then we'll send the other one to one of our watchers on here." And he said, "I want to be involved." And he said, "I'm going to go ahead and get you a couple of hats sent out." So huge thanks to Hayes Gray Cigars. We haven't even posted the information out, and you guys reached out to us and jumped in on it. So had to show you some love. Go check out Hayes Gray Cigars. So tonight we are bringing on the guest. He is the owner and the founder of Ozgener Family Cigars, Mr. Tim. Welcome, sir.
Hey, how are you guys doing? What's happening, Charles and Mick? Hopefully you can hear me okay.
Yep, we can hear you great.
Good,
Perfect.
We have you loud and clear.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
So how's
on.
everything going? And I guess we are currently filling in the entire part of the state. I am as far east as you can go. Tim is dead smack in the middle. And Mick is as far west as you can go. This is the Tennessee Herf right now. Here we go.
There we go. Yeah. It's funny. When I came home, my wife had a yacht rock station on, and it was like the song that the number 1 fan in Tennessee, something like that. You know that song about come to Boston, can't forget about Boston. Come to Tennessee.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're definitely repping the state tonight, man. Hopefully, hopefully we can put out some good content here and have fun and smoke a few good cigars.
Absolutely. There we go. Rocky Top. Here we go. Right, Charles?
There we go. Sure. I live in Tennessee, was born in Tennessee. When it comes to football, I'm not the Rocky Top person. But we'll say Rocky Top. We'll claim it.
You're living in that neck of the woods. I know, but
my daughter is graduating with a master. Right. I live right. I'm an hour outside Knoxville. My daughter's graduating from the University of Tennessee next week with a master's degree in special education. So you would think that I would be Vols all the way. I'm a Kentucky Wildcat.
Well,
I lived there for quite a few years, and Kentucky became home.
One of my best friends is a Kentucky Wildcat, so I'm used to watching Kentucky basketball and football too. Football, they've gotten pretty good also. So
they're doing pretty decent in both, and Mix doesn't like either one. So
yeah, I'm a Pennsylvania boy. I'm a transplant from Pennsylvania, so I'm a Penn State guy. I'm do or die, man. But honestly, if it's not Penn State playing a Tennessee team, I'll root for Tennessee all day long. I mean, this place is growing on me, so it's all good.
Listen, Penn State is good, and you had the Eagles win the Super Bowl, so you don't have much to complain about.
I'm not an Eagles fan per se. I do like the Phillies. It's a long story. I'm all over the place. My dad didn't have much guidance. I didn't have much guidance on pro football growing up. My dad hated pro football, so I ended up becoming a Falcons fan, and it's the worst thing ever. He loves college football. He loves high school football. He hates pro football, and I became an Atlanta Falcons fan. So,
Oh yeah. Well, for me, my dad always would watch football on Sundays. We'd watch football together, and he would lay down on the sofa and fall asleep, and then I would be at like his feet, like near the TV watching football, and then I would push his feet when he would snore too loud. So yeah.
So what team
familiar.
was he? What team was his team?
Well, at the time in Nashville, we didn't have a team. You know what I mean? You're talking about this is in like the
Right.
70s and stuff. So they would just always show the Dallas Cowboys. So you'd end up being like a Dallas Cowboys fan just because that's who they would show. I think that's probably true with a lot of markets. That's why so many people like the Dallas Cowboys, is because for the South, they kind of were the default team for a while. I guess you always had the Atlanta Falcons and stuff, but I mean, I guess nowhere else in the South, if you think about it. The Titans came in.
Who wants to root
later.
for the Falcons?
Yeah, the Falcons were always losing, right? So I mean,
Exactly.
what other team in the Southeast was there growing up? You know what I mean? Outside the Cowboys and the Falcons never won. So by default, you're like, my dad's like, Dallas Cowboys. Yeah. We will watch them. So, we will watch Dallas. I like Roger Staubach. He, sounds like he's a nice Jewish man, Staubach. He also was a composer. I think he wrote the soundtrack for Arthur's, a very funny movie, by the way. Like that's a different.
That
Bach,
is awesome.
Like right? Yeah. It's like
Bravo.
The wrong Bach.
That's
it's
funny.
a different. I think it's a different Bach that wrote that.
Yeah.
I like his classical music.
I don't think they were in the same. I don't think they were in the same gene pool.
No, probably not.
So let's jump into this one. Like we told you in the green room, when we told you before everything started, we'd like to take it back and way back in time, as they I forgot which lovely 90s hip hop person said that one, but let's talk about growing up, because a lot of the brands that we've talked to lately, when we talk to them about growing up, they grew up maybe in a country that dealt with cigars. They grew up in their dad was a part of a factory that was rolling cigars. You basically grew up into what became cigar royalty. So growing up, let's go back into that. How was life growing up for Tim?
Well, I was born and raised in Nashville, Tennessee. So, I mean, nowadays, a lot of people are moving to Nashville. So, now they consider me a unicorn. But, listen, I grew up, my mother is Turkish, born in Istanbul, and my dad's an Armenian, born in Istanbul. And like Turks and Armenians generally, like, they have a complicated history, meaning you don't usually see a Turk marry an Armenian. But anyway, my parents both went to school in New York City. My dad was getting a mechanical engineering degree from Columbia, and my mom was a Fulbright scholar, so she went to William and Mary, and then she went to Bank Street College of Education to complete her Fulbright obligation, which was right across the street from Columbia. So they would stay as international students in these dorms called the International House, and they met there and they fell in love. And, when they would go on dates, my mother would say to my dad, she was like, I do not want people to, I'm a good mimic. So when I mimic people, they're pretty accurate. I do not want people to know we are dating. So I want you to walk 30 feet behind me. And they're like leaving Harlem because that's where the dorm was. And so they're going to a movie. My dad's walking 30 feet behind her. She gets mugged and they like take her purse. And then she's screaming, Jano, where were you? And my dad's like, woman, what the hell do you want me to do? I am 30 feet behind you. I am not, what do you call it? Carl Lewis. I can run to catch up to you. I mean, what the hell do you want? So anyway, they fell in love and they eloped down to eventually to Nashville, Tennessee, because my mom went to Peabody School of Education, which now is a part of Vanderbilt, to get her PhD in early childhood development. And then my dad got a job at DuPont as a mechanical engineer, and he was working on microfibers and stuff like this for like polyester. And so he liked smoking these meerschaum pipes. which were these meerschaum is like small little crustacea that formulate into a mineral, and the mineral is about the size of your fist. You put the stone in like water, it absorbs the water, it becomes soft and heavy, and then you can carve into it any shape or face, like you're carving into like a bar of soap or something. And then you take it and you put it in a kiln oven to dry it. And then when you put tobacco in it to smoke it, it kind of acts like a natural filter. It absorbs like the tar and the nicotine. It feels cool in your mouth. And then the stone starts to change color because it absorbs the tar and nicotine. So it becomes like yellow and then brownish. And then eventually it could turn even black. And so my father liked smoking these meerschaum pipes, liked the fact that they were from Turkey, where he grew up. But he didn't like the engineering of the pipes because, you have the pipe and then you have the shank and you have the stem that goes in there. Most of the pipes were briar pipes. They were wood. And so you would stick in and out the pipe. And so my dad's like, well, when you are pushing in and out the stem, it will develop pressure on the shank. And for meerschaum, it will crack it. So whoever engineered this is, a big time loser. So I will engineer it myself to, make it superior. So he used microfibers to twist in and twist out the stem. So he went to a smoke shop in the Carolinas, which he was there for an engineering convention. And he went to this tobacconist and he's like, I need pipe tobacco and a cleaner. And he took apart the stem, and the retailer liked the stem. And he said, well, where'd you get that pipe? And my dad's like, well, I made it. And he said, well, can I order some from you? And my dad's like, son, listen, when you are Armenian, you never refuse an order. How many you want? I give you a deal, 12 plus 1, plus hubcap, no? So anyway, so my dad, he wasn't carving the pipes. He just engineered this stem. And so my uncle was living in, Istanbul. He would go to this city. It's called Eskişehir, which is like a city between Istanbul and Ankara. That's where all the stone was coming from. That's where the carvers were from. And so, it would specify what type of pipe, because each one is customized. So each one is a unique shape, whether it's a carved head or a smooth pipe. And then he would ship them with my dad's reconfigured stem to Nashville, Tennessee. The retailers were like, oh, put your initials on the stem so we know it's the same engineering improvement. So at first my dad went to a hardware store and he just got an electric drill and he would carve his name CAO, because he started CAO in 1968 part-time, and then 77 he got into it full-time. But he would carve his initials CAO. His first name was Jono, but spelled CANO, which means in Nashville everybody called him Kano. Kano, you want to play tennis? Sure, what time? He was a good tennis player. And then middle name Aret, last name Ozgener. So that's how we got the name CAO. And then we became known for having the highest quality meerschaum pipes. My sister and I, when we were growing up, because Charles, you asked about growing up in Nashville, to earn allowance, we would help my dad, since it was a part-time business and he was the only employee, at the basement of our home. We lived in a pretty small ranch-style home in Nashville, and to earn our allowance, my sister and I didn't know what we were getting into. One weekend, we'd go downstairs and he'd be watching NFL or whatever, or college football, and he'd have the pipes lined up in rows, and he'd be like, okay, and he'd hand me a pricing gun saying, this row is $65, go. So I would price the stem of the pipe. This next row, 75, go. So I would
right.
So
So CAO literally started in the basement of your house growing up.
Yeah. That's right. And then
that's awesome.
And then one weekend we'd go down and he invented this fluid that was a blue fluid that was a combination of alcohol and some sugars and whatever. And the whole point was, when you smoke a pipe and you put down the pipe for a few days and you want to pick it up and smoke it again, when you put tobacco in there, the first light will taste bad because you've got this these resins from or the ash from the tobacco that you smoked before. So this blue fluid concoction would clean the pipe so that it tasted sweet and clean. So he called this cleaner sweet and clean. So it used to be, we had a neighbor who was a nice, we had a son who had a wooden leg. I didn't know that was a thing. It's the only person I ever met in my life with a wooden leg. But he would come over and he had this container with a spigot, and he was filling the spigot with this sweet and clean thing. And then my dad's like, "This is highly inefficient," because being an engineer, he was in efficiency. So then he had my sister and I dunk our hands in this blue liquid to fill up this sweet and clean. We were in the garage. We had a boom box. We had a cassette tape because that's what you did at the time. And so we would fill these up, wipe them out, and then twist them and put them in this packaging, sweet and clean. He had a few different cleaning fluids. He had another one that was a vanilla colored called Meerschaum cleaning fluid. So, I mean, we never knew what we were getting into, but we learned basically to be entrepreneurs, by force, by child labor. And I'm not ashamed of it. I'm happy with it. I mean, it's kind of, it's funny memories. We have photographic evidence of it too.
So before I forget to ask, are there any of your dad's pipes still floating around, or do you personally have any that you've hung on to, or that you know where they are?
Oh yeah. I mean, he's got plenty of them still. I mean, he became known for having the highest quality pipes, Meerschaum pipes in the world, CAO. And so, retailers would come over to our house. My dad would make them coffee. They would come to the basement and they would pick out the pipes, because they'd be lined up in rows. And, but yeah, he has some pipes still left over that are very high quality pipes that I have enough set aside for just for archive purposes. But there's some other pipes that probably what I'll do is I'll probably end up selling them to a distributor for the pipes so other people can enjoy them.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, I just wondered because that's 50 plus years ago. That's pretty amazing.
Oh yeah, so no, he still has pipes. They're very good quality, and the quality of Meerschaum is dipped. So I mean, for a long time, and then when the business started growing a bit, he left DuPont in '77 to do that full time, and then he hired a couple of employees, in the basement and they worked still from the basement of our house because, the rent is cheap, free, I mean, or whatever I am paying for a mortgage, And so we would literally the basement of the house would be his office. And then he would ship out of the garage of our home. So, to have UPS would pull up. It was great because, during the summers I'd work for him and we'd go upstairs and, my mom would have food or my grandma would have food ready and we'd have lunch and then we'd go back downstairs and work and pick and pack and ship stuff out of the garage of our home. And it was, you never knew what you were going to get into day after day, but that was kind of how we grew up. And then we got into humidors in the early 90s. Yeah.
I will say before you get into that one, if you follow Tim's Instagram page and at least once a week or once every other week, he will take you into his dad's humidor and show you some of the old CAO cigars. One of the recent one was the pipes, and he had pipes that had some of the president's heads on it. He had pipes of the Liberty Bell.
I
mean, some of the most intricate, beautiful pipes that's on there. So go back and check some of those out. But yeah, I love when you walk into your dad's humidor and it's literally a throwback in time. So that's pretty cool. But go ahead. Your dad went into humidors, which this part I didn't know. I knew about the pipes. I didn't know about the humidors.
Yeah, so if you go to at Tim Ozgener at Oz Family Cigars, you'll see those videos that you talk about, and I'm gonna do more of them. I'm overdue to do more, but yeah, in the early '90s, 1990, cigar smoking became more popularized. Due in large part, I think, because of celebrities smoking them, and Cigar Aficionado came out, and that kind of increased people's knowledge on cigars and awareness of cigars. Certainly, that was a huge movement and huge part of it. But then people, if they're going to buy cigars, where are they going to store the cigars? So my father's like, well, we should get some humidors made. So we found some woodworkers in Nashville that were in this area town now that's a pretty hot developing area called Wedgwood, Houston. And we had a couple of woodworkers there that we befriended that were working on cabinets or whatever for residential homes. And so we kind of taught them how to make humidors. My father, of course, being an engineer, was very, meticulous about when you add humidity to the humidors, that the wood doesn't expand so much that it starts kind of coming apart. So we were very cognizant about the corners of the humidors and how they needed to be constructed and the hinges and how it seals and all of that. So we had solid wood humidors made out of mahogany, cherry, walnut, oak, walnut, and maple in Nashville from these two woodworkers. And in fact, one point in time, we even contracted somebody, Charles in Kentucky, who utilized prison labor to make humidors. And actually, they did a really good job. So we shifted from a pipe company into a humidor company. And I remember on the outside of the boxes, my father was always really proud of the fact that he loved this country. He loved all the opportunity that this country allowed for him and my mom. And we had a sticker we put on the outside of every carton of every box of humidor that we would ship that said, "Made in the USA with an American flag," which I think people liked a lot. And again, they were made out of solid wood with Spanish cedar interior. And then we became more of a humidor company, and that was between 1990 to 1994. And then we got into cigars in 1994.
So what made you guys decide to, what made your dad decide that, okay, I'm going to go from humidors into cigars?
Well, I mean, it was sort of like when you go to the trade show where you're, now the trade show, it's called PCA, Premium Cigar Association. Back in those days, it was called RTDA, which was Retail Tobacco Dealers Association. So all of the best retailers in the U.S., or all the retailers in the U.S. really, as well as like international distributors and stuff, would come once a year to wherever the trade show was going to be. And they would buy pipes, they'd buy humidors, they'd buy cigars. And so everybody's in the same, has different booths for different, these different products. But the retailers are the same retailers. So because of that, you end up becoming friends with people that are like, cigar manufacturers or, in pipes or humidors or accessories or whatever. So, once cigars started gaining in popularity in like the early 90s, my father was good friends with a gentleman named Peter Stokkebye, who had a pretty well-known pipe tobacco brand, Stokkebye Tobaccos. And he was one of my dad's like closest friends. But a lot of people that he would ask, should I get into doing a cigar? Because we had a really good name from the pipes and humidors. And most people said no, But this friend of his, Peter Stokkebye, he's like, he's Danish. Jano, screw them. You should do it. They don't want the competition. Yeah, you should do it. So my dad's like, well, Peter has a good point. So, then my father befriended Carlos Tarano, and Carlos Tarano was good friends with Nestor Plasencia. And so our first cigar was made in 1994 by Nestor Plasencia in his factory at the time in Honduras. And that became a brand called CAO Black, and that was in 1994. And when that first came out, that was when like the cigar boom was really in full flux. So the market wasn't prepared for what the demand was. So therefore, like the cigars, I mean, I went down to like Nestor's factory, I remember like at that time, and it was like chaos. I mean, it was almost like being on the floor of the stock market, like people running around everywhere, and it just was crazy. And
so how old were you at that time?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I must have been like, gosh, at that time I was like probably
early 20s.
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, that was in like, I have to do some quick math on that to understand how old I was.
So what was your role? What was your role with your dad's company at that time?
Well, I just graduated from Southern Cal in like 1993. So when I graduated from USC, like, I was like an actor. I was working I worked at a California Shakespeare Festival, and I was doing like, I was doing plays. I was doing like improv comedy. I fell into stand-up comedy by complete accident. So I was doing all this stuff during the evening. So during the day, rather than being a waiter, which is what all the other actors do in LA, I was like visiting smoke shops, selling mainly like pipes and cigars. And then we first got into, cigars, selling cigars. So, so basically I ended up being like kind of like the West Coast kind of sales guy. But at that time, there were no taxes on cigars, and all the celebrities were smoking cigars. And that was like kind of like one of the epicenters of cigar culture was Los Angeles at that time, because you had Arnold
Really?
Schwarzenegger putting on these cigar dinners. Yeah, oh yeah. It was, and all you'd go to like movie studios, and people would be smoking cigars on the lots, wait, just sitting around waiting for them to do whatever for filming a scene. They're smoking cigars. So LA was like, a big epicenter for cigar culture in like the early 90s. So I was between, LA, and then I would go to like Honduras or Nicaragua or, Dominican, at first to Honduras. And I would just do whatever. I mean, like if we needed to get more cigar production, I would go down there and like, show my face and make friends and figure it out. So, but when our first cigar came out in 1994, it was like, it was very inconsistent quality, just because the market wasn't ready for it and the business wasn't ready for it. So like one box, if it's supposed to be chestnut brown, would be chestnut brown. The next box, exact same cigar, would be green, literally, and would taste like it wouldn't taste consistent either. So our cigars, when they first came out, like weren't like turning that quickly. They weren't like, they weren't setting the world on fire. So then we had to like kind of learn and adjust and kind of, you know what I mean? Like try to figure it out pretty quickly. But it wasn't
Right.
really until like 1998 until we really kind of hit something with cigars. So between 1994 and 1998, we kind of had to struggle through it.
All right. So before we go into that period, I do have to ask this. I didn't know you were an actor and did comedy. That was one of the things I didn't know. And I know Mick mentioned something earlier when I talked to him. So from that time period where you were doing plays, you were doing, you're acting and you were involved in comedy stuff. Do you have one story that sticks in your mind that was like, that was awesome, or that was a cool experience, or, this one show was amazing? Is there something from back then that sticks with you till today?
Oh yeah, a few things. Well, I mean, when I first started, I mean, again, I wasn't looking at. I was an actor who was a very good. I had good comedic timing, because my dad was really funny, and my uncle was really funny. So I had natural and then grew up making people laugh because I could imitate people really well. So then and when I graduated from USC, even though like I was, I was a good actor too. But when I graduated USC, because I had like a BFA in acting, because I had to go to Chicago to audition for the most competitive schools in the US. At first, my dad's like, "How the hell can you make money doing that?" And I'm like, "Well, if I get into a really competitive school, then will you agree to support my education?" And he's like, "Well, okay, if that is the case, then yes, because you would have to have some iota of talent." So I auditioned for the most competitive schools in the US. I got into USC, which is in LA, and which was like top 5 school. Out of like a few thousand applicants, they accepted like, 28 or something. So when I went to USC, then like I graduated from there, and I had a teacher that I liked, and he's like, "Well, you're really funny. So your gift is like your comedic kind of timing. So you need to do improv comedy." So I went to this group called the Groundlings, which is where like, Will Ferrell came from, and, Kathy Griffin and Mike Myers and all these like amazing comedians and comedic actors. And so I did that for a time. And when I was doing that, somebody in my improv group said, you should do this stand-up class from this woman who was like a really kind of hot teacher at the time in LA. She was like really good at teaching you how to like formulate a joke and deliver it. So I did that, and then I performed. Like I ended up like out of a class of, I don't know, 30 people, I ended up like headlining that because she thought I was like the funniest one. And I would just imitate, my mom and dad being raised, and my shtick would be like, being born and raised Turkish Armenian in Nashville, Tennessee, and stuff around that we had actually formulated into like pretty funny jokes. And then from there, I ended up like doing stuff at like, the Improv in LA or the Comedy Store in LA and stuff like this, and you're not getting paid. I mean, being a stand-up the comic is like very difficult because you have to do it all the time. So you get your confidence up, and you also get your comedic timing, and also so you can work on new material and know if it's funny or not. But you also have to read the room, because if the people are not listening to you, or they're not interested, or they're there because they're there for an open mic night and they're musicians, then they don't care about you or what you're saying. They're just caring about what am I going to perform when it's my time, you know? So it's a very difficult and variable thing to do, which is relatable to cigars, because when you come up with a blend, it's also variable. You know, I mean, you don't know how much people are going to like it or not, and you have to understand what the market's palate is and stuff. So there are a lot of parallels. So, you know, yeah, I ended up doing like a bunch of that. You know, I ended up doing like a lot of different things around that period of time. But it was fun, but it's also like not easy. It's not an easy life for sure. You know, so I found like cigars and figuring out cigars and coming out with something that resonated much easier than trying to like make it, you know, having a career as an actor in Los Angeles.
Yeah, so as always, I try to do my research going into this, and I didn't know all of that. That's all amazing stuff. But I do want to say, I think a lot of the things I saw early on when CAO and selling cigars first kind of, you know, became a thing for you guys, the excitement on your face beside your dad on almost every picture that I saw in that time frame that you're describing right now was just unbelievable, man. I mean, you could tell the joy that you had in this business, and to me I was like, man, you can see his passion from an early age, and I don't
nice
know, maybe tell us about that time period.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, you know, I had a mentor who was a working actor in LA. His name actually was Joe Costanza, and that name is familiar to many people because of the character on Seinfeld, George Costanza. So that character, George Costanza, was based on his brother, I believe it was, you know, because he was a New Yorker. Joe was a New Yorker who lived in LA, and his brother was in New York. So that was pretty incredible, because at the time Seinfeld was like that was very hot at that time. Seinfeld was the hottest show. This is when I was in LA.
It's still one of the best shows that's out there, even in reruns.
Yeah. So, but I would go and I would meet with Joe, because he was considered, and he was a graduate from USC also, and they brought him my senior year, saying, this is an example of a successful working actor, and here's why. He's always working. He books all these commercials. Now, Joe was a big man. I mean, Joe was maybe like, I don't know, 350, 400 pounds maybe. He was huge. But to his credit, he knew what he delivered. He knew what he brought. He knew how to audition for roles and get them. I mean, he was really good in that way. So I would meet with him once a week. He'd give me a list of casting directors to go and visit, to just drop off a headshot and resume. And that's tiring as hell, because you have to drive through LA, which that in and of itself is tiring, brutal. And you'd go and you drop off a headshot and resume with the hope that like you get lucky and they look at your face and you're like, oh, this kid might be good for something. But I mean, that's like the classic pounding the pavement. But I always found that like by pounding the pavement in the cigar business, I could learn so much more, rather than just me going and dropping off a headshot to somebody and rolling the dice. I could learn at every stop that I go to, because every retailer was more than happy to give me their opinion on it, whatever. And I would listen and absorb that, and then try to apply it for cigars. And I'd smoke along the way, because our cigars at the time weren't selling. So I'd be like, what? They'd be like, Tim, I like you. I like your dad. You guys are a great family. I wish your cigars did better. And I'd be like, okay, what's selling for you? This. I'd buy them, smoke them, learn. And then eventually, when I was going down to Central America, then I had a palate, and I'd be like, okay, we need to do, you know, a Maduro that's medium to full bodied, that is in this price point. And then that kind of hit, you know? So basically through this habit I picked up of like pounding the pavement, I could apply that into the cigar business and see benefit from it, as opposed to in acting, where you'd pound the pavement and not see any benefit from it. And you're like, what did I do? What did I do this week? You know,
why am I here? Yeah. Why am I doing this?
Oh, I mean, it's like, could not be a harder business in the world than that. I mean, that's why really like nepotism in that business in particular is like massive, right? I mean, it is like, it's a real, like Nicolas Cage is Nicolas Coppola, right? Cage is just like a made up last,
From
you know,
Francis Ford
his
Coppola.
alias. Yeah, I mean, or or the Coppola family, I guess. And so,
Right.
you know, nepotism is like a big thing there. You know, if you don't have that, then you're like, I mean, it's like, you know what I mean, like rolling the dice in Vegas. You know what I mean? You just hope that you hope that you can like make it a long run and hit your numbers. But you apply it in the cigar business. I thought the retailers are actually quite nice. You know, they were wanting us to be successful. And so then finally when we came up with something that resonated with people, then they also kind of felt like, all right, you know, these guys paid their dues, you know.
So what was that
So
cigar that you and your dad you finally hit that cigar that you're like, okay, we're on the right track. Here we go.
yeah, that was one called CAO L'Anniversaire. We wanted to call it Anniversary or Anniversario, but those names were like taken, I believe, like Davidoff may have had it at the time. And so we had to call it the French L'Anniversaire. And it was a Maduro, and it was a Maduro made in Costa Rica at the time from a factory that was well liked at the moment, and people were liking the flavor profile that was coming out of there. And it was a box pressed Connecticut broadleaf Maduro, and you know, at that time it came out, it got like pretty high ratings in Cigar Aficionado, which, you know, at that time had a huge impact. And it had the right price point, the right flavor, and people really liked it, and they started ordering it. And that was in 1998. So really in 1998 was when we started to kind of hit a hot streak with cigars. And then after that, in 1999, we had a cigar that that actually I befriended Nick Perdomo, who at the time was, you know, kind of a new up and coming like manufacturer, but he and I became friends. And that was a CAO L'Anniversaire Cameroon with a Cameroon wrapper, which was also a really great cigar. So then we built on our momentum there. Then we did a cigar called CAO Extreme, which was like a fuller bodied smoke. That was in like 2000. And then in 2001, we did a cigar called CAO Brasilia. And CAO Brasilia was, you know, perhaps like our most sort of popular CAO cigar that had a Brazilian wrapper and pretty strong fillers. Pretty full-bodied cigar.
Lou Cross with Lure Cigar says my favorite CAO was the gold foil band, the La Anniversaire. I'm channeling Mick right now. Cameroon box
right.
press was incredible.
Yeah. So, you know, again, that was made. We worked with Perdomo on that, and that was a really great cigar. That was a very like, you know, Cameroon wrapper has this like nice powdered sugary sweetness to it. So you don't want to do something on the filler that overpowers that. And so that was a cigar that had a really nice kind of nice, delicious, sweet, almost like powdered sugar and coffee kind of flavors to it.
So let's go into obviously there was a point that CAO got bought out. So how did that happen?
Well, by that time, you know, we had CAO Brasilia, then we did CAO MX2, which was a double Maduro times 2, Maduro wrapper, Maduro binder. That was also very well liked with 8 different tobaccos in it. We had a CAO Sopranos edition that we did for HBO's hit TV show, The Sopranos.
How did that
which had
happen?
a Brazilian. That happened because we noticed, you know, my colleague John Huber, who I've worked with, he's like a brother to me. And he was monitoring what people were saying on chat room boards at the time, because at the time, you know, you didn't have Facebook or Instagram. So it was just all chat room boards. And people were talking about what folks were smoking on The Sopranos. Like was no other show. It was specific to The Sopranos. What cigars were they smoking? And then out of the blue, one day they started smoking our L'Anniversaire Maduro with the red band. And we were like, holy moly, they're smoking our Maduro. And then somebody reached out. It might have been me or John. I don't know. I don't remember. Reached out to HBO saying, "Hey, you know, we're happy to send more cigars for you to smoke." And then they said, "Hey, we have an interest in like maybe having a licensed cigar for the show."
Wow.
And then we were doing a big smoke in New York at the time, and that big smokes were like, you know, in Times Square at the Marriott Marquis then, and those were awesome events. So we had a booth that was a beautiful booth. but it took like most people would have like a flag that they'd put back behind their booth, and then they would just hand out cigars in like Ziploc bags. We had a booth that actually was designed from a designer friend of mine that I befriended in LA, who was an industrial designer. It took 4 hours to set up and 2 hours to take down. And so you're exhausted completely by the time you're done with the Big Smoke. But it was the most beautiful by far booth, like not even close, at the Big Smoke. We were cutting and lighting every single person's cigar so they would try our cigars. So when the HBO people came to see our booth, they were like, "Wow, yeah, we want to do business with these guys." So then it came down to like, okay, let's try to come up with a cigar that like, looks cool, but doesn't like not too literal, where you have like the face of James Gandolfini on it and the other actors. So it looked gimmicky. We wanted it to be more about like, CAO is a serious brand, and this is a special edition we've done, and that worked. And so, that's how that happened.
Wow.
But, and then we also had a sub brand of CAO called Flavors by CAO. That was like, the goal was to be the Godiva flavored cigars and use like grade A flavoring and grade A tobaccos, and have the flavoring be high quality, but very subtle and taste excellent, and not like you're trying to cover up bad tobacco with bad flavoring, which is what was on the market at the time. So, we had a lot of things that were going for us. And so then when we, we weren't looking to sell the business, but the thing of it is that at that time it was like nearing the end. It was 2007. There was increase in excise tax by over 700% on cigars. There was a threat of FDA getting more involved in cigars. You had a recessive environment due to the housing crisis that happened. And so, I was having, like you're saying, Mick, I was having a blast in the cigar business. I wasn't interested at all in selling. My father, though, he had a lawyer friend of his, and who told him a story over and over about a gentleman that like was in a different industry that had an offer to sell his business. There weren't that many suitors. He turned them down, and then his industry went downhill due to various reasons. And then he would always see him out in public, and the guy would be like down in the dumps and almost out of money, because he said, "I should have sold my business because my industry went down the toilet." So because of that, my father was like, "Well, maybe this is God telling us that now is the time."
Yeah. Yeah, no, this isn't near as exciting about this than the story you just told, but so the MX2 was one of those cigars for me that really took me down a rabbit hole with cigars. I ventured into the podcast thing before, not nearly as awesome as this, because the guy above me there is amazing at putting these graphics together and everything. But me and a buddy from back in Pennsylvania, that was the first cigar that we smoked and reviewed on the air, was the MX2. And I actually went down a rabbit hole with your dad and you at that point. It was kind of my first introduction, and man, that's kind of why this is kind of special to me, man, because it was kind of one of those cigars for me that really took me down that rabbit hole. And a little shout out to my buddy Jeremy too, because hopefully he occasionally watches this. I'm not sure if he does or not, but I gotta give him a shout out too. But no, I appreciate everything you guys have done, man. That MX2 definitely took me down a rabbit hole that I've enjoyed being in for the last like 5-6 years. So it's awesome.
Oh yeah, thanks for saying that. Yeah, that was a really unique and difficult cigar to make, because there was like 8 different tobaccos in that cigar. So yeah, people did like it though.
I still have a handful. When I fell in love with that cigar, I'm pretty sure I bought a box, or at least like 10 cigars. I still have a handful in my humidor that I'm sitting on because I want to see how they are aged. But I can't bring myself to smoke them because it's one of those special cigars. I almost have to smoke it with my buddy Jeremy when I do break them out. But it's pretty awesome, man. It does hold a special spot in my heart for sure.
Well, those types of blends, and that cigar should age actually particularly well, because again, you have like, you had Connecticut broadleaf Maduro as the wrapper, and then you had Brazilian Arapiraca, which is thinner, as like the binder. And so you had a lot of dark tobaccos in there, so it should actually age pretty good.
All right, so let's go from your dad's company gets bought out or gets sold.
Well, also
from there. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Also, Charles, I want to say that company was one that like it was me and my dad and my sister all had like equity in that company. So it was like, really kind of truly a family business.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So it gets bought out. Where do you go from there? So are you sticking with the are you sticking with CAO while they're, I guess, who bought CAO?
Well, it was Scandinavian Tobacco Group, and at the time they were like nobody knew who they were. Now people know who
Right.
they are, but then
Oh, yeah.
nobody knew who they were. They they had a division, a cigar division of their company, which was located in Holland, and they were making these cigars that were machine made cigars primarily for like the Dutch market that were pretty light cigars, short filler, again machine made, mild, and they wanted to get into the premium cigar sector. And so, we had a distributor for CAO in England, and they were mainly distributing. They distributed premium cigars, but they also distributed like some mass market cigars too, like Cafe Creme and stuff like this. And this distributor of ours was talking to me, and he's like, "Well, they're looking to get into the U.S. market, into premium." I'm like, "Oh yeah, really? Like what kind of company they're looking for?" "Well, quite frankly, a company like yours." And I was like, "Oh, okay, all right, so that's interesting." So yeah, then after they acquired us, I was actually really excited for working with them because the main guys that were like with the premium cigar sector in Holland, they were like really into premium cigars. They were historians and they studied it and they liked it and they respected it. And so they were going to just they were going to help the business via their international distribution and their access to these tough to get into international markets. But then what happened is that ST also had a cigarette division. They had a brand called Prince, which was like the #1 brand in Scandinavian countries. And then when they sold Prince, then a lot of the cigarette executives said, "Well, we're going to go into the cigar sector." And then when they got into that, they would look at cigars more like units as opposed to just, premium cigars are totally different than cigarettes. So, I mean, really at the time, you know, our whole kind of team at CAO, which is more like a family, continued to work with ST, and we worked with them for about 4 years. And then when they wanted to move the distribution for CAO to Richmond, Virginia, around that time they formed a partnership with Swedish Match, and Swedish Match was going to take care of like smokeless products such as like snus, which they were really into at the time, and ST was going to focus on like the smoking sector of cigars, whether that's mass market cigars, meaning machine made cigars, or premium cigars. And they had also at that time they had bought like General Cigars, which was like Macanudo and stuff, and so they already had an office facilities, in Richmond. So we figured, okay, well, doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that they're going to move the distribution out of Richmond, since it's like an office park that they're in versus, our smaller facility in Nashville. But at that time when they wanted everybody to move, they wanted everybody except for me to like apply for their job again. And they were fine with me being in Nashville. They just wanted me to like be in the field or be in the factories or be in Richmond. But at the time, we all kind of felt like, okay, well, we had a good run. It's time for us to kind of do something else. So I left, and like I think everybody else left too. And two of our like key employees, like John Huber and Mike Conder, they left, and they didn't have a non-compete, so they started the brand Crowned Heads. My dad and I started a nonprofit contemporary performing arts center in Nashville called Oz Arts Nashville. So my dad and I worked on that. So we worked on that for starting in like 2011. And then we launched Oz Arts as a nonprofit in Nashville in 2013, end of 2013, beginning of 2014, which that was a lot of work too, because starting a nonprofit arts center is a lot of work as well. So that's what happened after that.
You're definitely leading me through my questions tonight, man. This is like, it's like you read my, oh shit, sorry. It's like you read my script here tonight, man. Oz Arts, man. I wanted to talk to you about that. So I also read
Yeah.
somewhere that your dad started painting or doing art at age 70. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so my dad, when he was working at DuPont, he was working on things like, Teflon, unmasked. So because of that, like later in life, he ended up with a lot of health issues. And his health issues didn't come from smoking. And I know this because I've had genetic testing and I've had blood testing done for myself, and they found none of the same indicators. So they said it must have been environmental for him. So so really, he had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, so he had to have a stem cell procedure done for that. Then he had to have like open heart surgery. We had to have a stent put into his heart because that procedure that he did with the stem cell like had an effect on his heart. And then after that, he had prostate cancer. And then after prostate cancer, he had pancreatic cancer, which is what he passed away from in 2018. So during all those like periods where he would go through, chemotherapy or whatever, what kept his spirits up and kept him hopeful was art. He always felt like, when things look dark and hopeless, there will be a light, and that light will be art. And so he painted like colors that made him feel good. He would paint colors around nature, whether it's like grass or flowers or whatever, and it made him feel good. And then when we were talking about what to do with we actually have a warehouse, but the inside of the outside is just a gray warehouse, but the inside is quite a beautiful space. And so we wanted to convert that warehouse into a nonprofit arts center around visual art and performing arts. And so now Oz Arts is over 11 years old. It's about a $2 million a year kind of arts center, which is like puts us at like a medium-sized arts center in Nashville. On the same level as like Nashville Opera, for example, or so basically we started doing that, and now we've assembled a really good team around that, and we have a excellent artistic director and executive director who has like over like 35 years experience doing it. So because he's really good at it, that gives me more time to get back into cigars.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's three things me and the wife look for when we travel, and that's a good cigar lounge or a place that we can hang out with some of our brothers that also smoke cigars. We're also brewery hoppers, and we love art. So like everywhere we go, and so like the ties with you and what I've researched on leading into this interview, I was like, man, this is gonna be so great. Like that's amazing, and to hear that's what took your dad through that. I also dabble in art. Charles has a few of my pieces hanging in his office, but I dabble a little bit. So man, I appreciate it deeply, and just hearing that made him through some of those darker times, man. That's I understand it. That's amazing.
Yeah, we want to bring art that like makes people think, and that like people leave and they go, oh wow, that was like something that I would never have seen in Nashville. So it's not mainstream art. It's more like I would say it's more like contemporary, innovative artists that are living now. Artists, art that sometimes is more avant-garde. That you may not know the artist, but you go and see it, and it's like all A+ quality. I mean, so you leave there saying, wow, I was blown away by that. We really kind of, that's what really kind of always has motivated us, whether it's cigars or whether it's art. We want, like you mentioned MX2 earlier. No one had done anything like that. Or Brasilia. When we did Brasilia, people said, oh, you can't, and people are not using Brazilian tobacco. And you certainly shouldn't promote that it's Brazilian tobacco. And you certainly shouldn't make a box that's green. But we like to do it because we wanted people to like be stimulated by something and try something and say, wow, that was really excellent. So we've always been into that, and we have the same philosophy with our art center too.
I'm glad you touched on that as well, because that was actually also in my notes. I know it. The one article I read said your dad kind of started dabbling with art when he was like 70, but in my opinion, apparently he's always dabbled in art because of the pipes, because of the blending of tobaccos, because of the pride he put into what he was doing. So I mean, it obviously the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and I mean it's just amazing stuff. Like it's all art if you really look at it in that sense.
Yeah, we always view that like cigars are like a combination of art and science, right? So, I mean, and I do these events that are called like behind the blend events, which are in essence component tasting. So like you're smoking the Bosphorus, you were saying. So I use like the wrapper from the Bosphorus and one of the fillers that we also use for binder. You smoke those on their own, and then you smoke them combined. And so like we talk about the science that goes into it, but when you're talking about blending, you're talking about like that's an art. You have to like visualize what do these components taste like on their own, and you have to imagine what happens when you combine them. How would they taste? So that requires like imagination. It's imagination like around your palate and based on like your sensory memory of what you smoked before. So I like to write down all these components on their own. I invite the audiences to do that too. You know, um, so it's exciting when you can do that, and it's exciting to me when you can you want hopefully people when they do these events. Which, by the way, I'm doing one of these behind the blend events actually at in St. Petersburg, Florida, at Central Cigars, and that's going to be Thursday evening. And by the way, Central Cigars was just featured today in Cigar Aficionado's Instagram page as
I love
where to
that place.
smoke. As
I
where to
love that
smoke.
place. I've been there twice. I've been there twice. My mother-in-law lives in St. Pete, so I go down there every year. And like 2 years ago, I
Nice.
got introduced to Central Cigar, and great people there. Awesome location, and yeah, I had some great times there, man. So yeah, you'll have a blast. I wish I was there with you, brother. But one of these times I do want to catch you because that sounds like an amazing event.
Yeah, so if any of your listeners are like in the area of there, I would encourage them to go because it's really kind of cool, unique experience. It's really professional. We bring in like booklets that show the tobacco, that explain the region. People can take notes of what tasting notes are they perceiving from that. And we just want it to be a fun, stimulating thing that focuses on like really the art of cigars. To your point, Mick, well said.
Thank you.
So I want to say congratulations because we talked when I met you in Knoxville about your art center, and the art center is something that Mick alluded to it too. I'm a big art fan. My wife and I, we do a lot of the same stuff that Mick does. He does breweries, we do distilleries. So we're always looking for the next big cigar lounge or the next good cigar lounge. We're looking for the next great distillery, and we're looking for art and history. So the fact that you have this, this awesome art center up there, and it's been going for as long as it has, and it has become as big of a success as it has. I just want to say congratulations on that one because that has to
Thanks,
be
Charles.
a great feeling.
Well, look, Charles, it's not it's a nonprofit, right? So when you're a nonprofit, it's not easy because it's a complicated formula on how you make it sustainable. Because you have to have companies and foundations and patrons that donate to it because the amount of revenue that you get from ticket sales don't cover the costs of running the organization. You're doing it because you feel like it's something that improves the society that you're in, so it's I appreciate you saying that, but you're always like trying to improve in little ways.
Well, if you're not improving in little ways, you're getting stagnant and standing still. So
Yeah,
always
true.
look forward, always keep pushing, always keep making yourself better, make your brand better, your product better. So you've got your performing art center, going and doing well. What brought you back to the cigar industry?
Well, I love cigars. I think it's what Mick alluded to earlier astutely, that like, I did an exercise during COVID that somebody encouraged me to do, where you like look through every year of your life and you like say this was an up year, this was a down year, or like the stock market. You know what I mean? And so like when you do that, I mean, literally, I looked at every year of my life as far as I can remember, and what were highlights and knock on wood, I had like really retrospectively amazing parents that my mother being an early childhood development professor really valued from 0 to 5 how I was raised, and I think that was very beneficial to me. And my father was a great dad too, and so I was really lucky to have had parents that kind of worked on sort of raising me through that whole kind of childhood. So what was your question again, Charles? I kind of like lost the the train there.
Just basically what brought you back into the cigar game.
Yeah.
You said you did an exercise. Yeah. What was the exercise that you did that gave you, you know what? Out of everything that I'm enjoying doing, I love doing the art center. I love doing what I'm doing, but my calling is to go back to cigars.
Yeah. So when you're looking back on your life, I realized that I had, a really happy upbringing, thanks to my parents. So I had a lot of years most of my years were positive, but the most positive that I felt, like, again, if you're charting like the stock market, this year was up, this year was down. The highest years that I had was when I was developing things like Brasilia or MX2 or whatever. And so then the gentleman that led me through this exercise said, well, that's your sweet spot. So you need to exist in your sweet spot or get back to that. And then, John and Mike at the time, they were at Crowned Heads, and they said to me, look, whenever you're ready to get back into the cigar business, we're here. We have a company that has a nice reputation amongst like boutique brands. And we have salesmen and we have distribution. So whenever you want to get back in, we're here. And so then after, during the pandemic and going through that exercise, after the pandemic was done, then I said, okay, well, I'd like to get back into the cigar business so I could get back to like my sweet spot, so to speak.
Get back to your happy place.
Yeah. I mean, not that I wasn't happy with with the arts, but it's what I didn't like about the arts center is that, like, you're always, you know what I mean? It's fun and stuff like that, but it wasn't like really my sweet spot.
Because, in the profession that I'm in, I've been practicing the profession that I'm in since I was 4 years old. But there was a time period I tried to step away and do something else. But when I look back at it, what I really realized, like, the exercise that you did, when I found out what my sweet spot, my happy spot was, it was doing what I had been doing that I was trying to tell myself I didn't need to do anymore. And I found out that was the calling that I had. So to see that you come back to that, that's something that's special. So, the fact that there's a lot of people that won't listen to that thought that says you need to go back to that sweet spot, and they keep trying to push forward to what they think they should do instead of going to where they should go. And you went back to where you should go. And that says a lot about you.
Also, there were a lot of people that like were kind of incredulous or, saying like, why do you want to get back into the cigar business? Have you lost your mind? Are you nuts? I mean, they don't understand though. I mean, like for me, I like doing this. I like this business. I like the product a lot. I had a lot of people that, here in Nashville, they're like, oh, well, you should get into whiskey because, it's similar in a lot of ways. Similar, like it's in that it's a, how should we say it? It's a similar category.
Art.
Yeah, it's a similar category that has to do with like flavor and packaging and, you know what I mean, how you convey what the essence of that product is. But I know that for liquor and that we had a really good liquor distributor for our cigars actually in Nashville called Lipman Brothers. They're excellent. And I knew through them because we would sometimes host events at CAO at the time, which is now Oz, where they would have like cigars complemented by a special whiskey or bourbon or beer. So I knew that the distribution for like that category is difficult. Like, for example, in Nashville or in Middle Tennessee, you have a different distributor as opposed to, Mick, where you are in West Tennessee, as opposed to Charles, where you are in East Tennessee. And, the laws in Middle Tennessee is if you go with a certain distributor, you can never leave them. They have to let you go, which is crazy. In cigars, you could come up with a cigar and you could distribute it yourself. You can't do that in liquor. So even though my dad always would say, and I think it's very true, is that like, it is easy to give advice. It is difficult to execute. 100%. It's easy for someone to say, "Hey, yeah, you should get into whiskey, Tennessee whiskey," yeah, but without understanding that the devil's in the details. Because if I'd done that, I mean, so I looked at it like I spent a majority of my life in the cigar business. Why do I want to get into whiskey? I mean, the odds of me being successful in whiskey, I mean, it's not going to be a slam dunk or no brainer. It's going to
you
be more
gotta
difficult than you
you
think.
gotta stay in your wheelhouse. I mean, it's what you
Totally.
know, and it's obviously what you're good at. So I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's where you got to stay.
So like as much as like your ego feels good about people saying that to you, you have to have like some lens of reality to say, look, uh, easier said than done, basically. So I'm really glad that I didn't do that because that's, you know what I mean? That's much more difficult, I think. And like you said, Mick, it's not that wasn't in my wheelhouse. It's not my so I at least I'm glad that I had the foresight to understand that.
When you were jumping back into cigars and you were looking at going ahead and doing this, who was the biggest voice in your ear? Who was your cheerleader? Who was that person in your ear telling you, you know what? Don't listen to everybody else. Let's go ahead and do this. Do this.
Yeah, I mean, I have to give some credit to like at the time, I never like really kind of felt the need to have like a coach or anything, but I at the time had someone that was recommended to me as like a coach that could, and he's the one that had me do that like exercise I described earlier.
Right.
And so,
I was meaning like it, if someone like your mom, or was it like someone like John, that was saying, let's do this.
probably probably it was my wife, to be honest with you.
Okay.
She was,
Awesome.
she was like, I'm fully supportive, and if this is something that you want to do and you're passionate about, and that's where it's going to bring you a lot of joy, then you should do it. So I would probably say it was my wife that was like my biggest sort of cheerleader behind all that, and Mike and John, and also I have to give a shout out to Miguel Shodell. They were also very encouraging for it too. Miguel Shodell is our vice president of sales. He was somebody that we hired back in the days of CAO, and he's an excellent person and an outstanding salesman. So
Well, as somebody who's a fan of the cigars, I will personally thank Mrs. Ozgener and Mike and John and everybody for helping push him to making some of the great cigars that he's got out right now.
And
So
by the way, like the best is coming. The best is yet to come with that.
Well, let's get into that one. So you've got the brand started. What was the first cigar that you kicked up? Let's talk about it. Let's start talking about the cigars all the way through. What was the first one that you kicked off with?
Well, I'd had a long relationship with Ernesto Perez Carrillo and his family just because, back in the day, my father and Ernesto would exchange. My dad would trade Ernesto like a pipe for like a box of cigars. You know what I mean? So they had a long history. I had a lot of respect for Ernesto and what he did with La Gloria Cubana, and then with his own brands too, his EP Carrillo brands. So when I told him kind of like the idea or the story behind our first brand, he liked it, and so I wanted to get those first cigars made by him. He had gotten 2 number 1 cigars of the year from Cigar Aficionado. So the idea with the Bosphorus was, to have a pretty complex blend where you had a wrapper that was Havana 2000 seed grown in Ecuador. It has a double binder on it. One binder is Connecticut shade, and the other one Connecticut shade Ecuador, and the other one is Jalapa from Nicaragua, and the fillers are from Esteli, from Jalapa, and also from Ometepe. So it was a pretty complex cigar. And then right out of the gate, we got like 293s, a 92, and a 90, and it was rated in top 25 best cigars of the year from Cigar Aficionado. So we were very pleased with that. And then the identity of the bands and the vista of the box kind of pays homage to our background. That it's like a Turk and an Armenian meeting in New York and eloping to Tennessee. It's kind of like a very strange a strange kind of background. And so that was our first release, and that was in 2022. And our second release is one called Aramas, and Aramas is a Mexican Maduro wrapper. Excuse me, that's Mexican San Andreas that has an Ecuador Sumatra binder, and the filler is Dominican Corojo 99 tobacco from Ligero. Sorry, hang on. And then also we have Jalapa tobacco and in the filler, and also a half leaf USA Connecticut broadleaf Maduro. And then we did another one called Fursat, and that is a CAO Gold like cigar that has a Connecticut Ecuador wrapper, and the fillers are all like from Jalapa, Nicaragua. That's a really nice milder cigar.
So everybody knows I can't pronounce anything on this show, so I'm just gonna not try. But can you talk a little bit about the namesake behind all of your cigars? That's something that I researched a little bit. I dug in a little bit, but I'd like to hear it from you.
Yeah, well,
I was about to go the same route, because this is where Mick and I geek out, and it's the little bitty Easter eggs that you put in the bands and the names that you do. So this is where me and him both get to geek out a little bit.
And speaking of that, I'm actually going to go grab one of those like 4-year-old, 5-year-old MX2s and smoke it as my second cigar of the night. So I have to.
Oh, nice.
I mean, you're on the show, but if I disappear for 2 seconds, that's where I'm going.
Okay, no worries. I would go for it. Go for it. Yeah, so I mean, Bosphorus is the strait that separates Europe from Asia in Istanbul. So we thought that was like symbolic, just because of the fact that my mom is Turkish and my dad's Armenian. And even though, totally, they could be like, how could a Turk and Armenian get married? That shows that, like, they had a lot of, despite that history, they had a lot more in common than they did that separated them. They believed in working hard and having a good education, having a good reputation, having a love for like arts and culture was what kind of binded them and brought them together. Aramas is a name that kind of harkens to Mount Ararat in Armenia, which is on the band and on the vista, and it kind of is a very important spiritual place for Armenians. It honors like my dad's Armenian background. We wanted to call it Ararat, but there's a Armenian brandy called Ararat, so that's already trademarked. Some Armenian friends said, "Oh, you should call it Masis, because Masis is what people call that mountain in Armenia." That name was trademarked too, so we just took the prefix of Ararat and Masis, and that's the name Aramas. The third blend in the trilogy is called Fursat. Fursat means opportunity in Turkish, and it's inspired by the symbolism of the Statue of Liberty, meaning like United States has always been like a country that is viewed as like a place to go where you have a lot of opportunity, particularly if you work hard and you come to this country, obviously legally, and by working hard and having the right ethics and morals and values, you could be successful. So, and the Fursat one is actually, that blend is modeled after CAO Gold. CAO Gold was one of our top selling cigars at CAO, and it was a mild cigar with all Nicaraguan fillers, and that was my dad's favorite blend of ours. So this was, let's make a mild cigar that has Connecticut Ecuador wrapper, which is delicious on its own, and have milder Nicaraguan fillers in there. So when you smoke that cigar, that is a very flavorful, mild to medium bodied Nicaraguan cigar. Because we always felt like whether you make if you can make a mild cigar, that is excellent. It's no different than you're drinking a white wine that you're like, that white wine, you may say I'm not a white wine guy, because most people that smoke a lot of cigars, you're going to like bolder flavors, but you could still have a bold, rich, flavorful white wine too that you're like, okay, that's really good. So that was kind of our goal with that cigar.
So I will say that you did put out a special edition of the Fursat, and it was the game day cigar. So Jordan wants to ask, are you going to do another game day cigar? I still have 2 or 3 of those in there, and I bought them when I got to meet you in Knoxville when when you were doing that event for that one. So he wants to know, are you going to keep and continuing to do the game day cigar?
Yes. They won. It's good karma. And we are doing another one. Our mistake was that we didn't know what the market demand was going to be for it. And the market demand for it was greater than we expected. So we are doing it again. I can already tell you we've already approved of like the boxes to be made. The cigar, the reason why we chose that cigar, quite frankly, is that, I mean, we all are cigar smokers, right? But there are a lot of cigar smokers that like maybe they just do it on a special occasion. So therefore we want a blend that is an easily accessible blend that is more mild to medium, so that if it's like the only cigar you smoke all year after UT beats Alabama, that it's like it's an enjoyable cigar and one that like actually turns you on to the absolute joys of cigar smoking.
I will say that's the one time that I'm absolutely rooting for UT is when they're playing Alabama. And I will wear orange and white all day long, even though I don't know anything or own anything that's orange and white. Are you going to keep it with the Versat blend?
Yes.
Is it going to be that cigar each year, or are you going to change the blend?
I don't know. I mean, for this year, it's going to be that same blend because it's a unique size in Versat. And it's also one that, it's wide enough that you can see the checkerboard motif on
the checkerboard was awesome.
Yeah, so I mean, I know there was like a famous image of like a young man that was like trying to light the cigar with the actual band still on it. I don't encourage that. I encourage you to like take it off, or maybe you want to hold it so that people see you on national TV, but not exactly lighting it because you could really harm yourself and the people around you in the stadium. So, but that was like that was
image
really kind of
blew
cool to see
all over the state of Tennessee. That was priceless. But that guy was enjoying his best life right then and there. He was enjoying his best life.
Yeah, so we want it to be a cigar that is. We recognize that you could do some cigars that might be more fuller bodied, but I mean, for a lot of these people, this is just like, maybe my assumption is this might be the only time of the year that they smoke a cigar. So we want to make the cigar like a super, he's got the MX2. How old is that?
I would say at least 4 years old. I bought about, like I said, about 10 of them, and I'm still sitting on about 4 or 5 of them. And here's one of them.
Yeah, so the last year that I was involved in that was like 2010,
Okay.
So that means that they must be still making them.
They must be, because it's only about, I'd say about 5 years old.
Okay. Interesting. Hopefully the blend has not changed. So I don't know.
It was one of my favorites for a long time, man. So I'm hoping to blend.
Yeah.
I think it must be the same. I mean, it's outstanding. And I've been sitting on it. The cellophane's pretty yellow at this point, and I'm pretty excited to try it.
Well, like Charles was saying, I mean, like in my father's humidor, I have some of those that are like 20 years old, over 20 years old now.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
But they should age pretty well though, those cigars, So
So when the Versat came out and you did the game day cigar out of that one, with the lounge that we met up at and you did your event, they were doing like you could only buy 2. Well, the next day, a lounge that was a little bit closer to me ended up getting, I think, 2 boxes in. And he was doing the same thing. He was like, I want everybody to try it. Go ahead and do it. And it's like, come on. We buy a lot of cigars for the show from you. Help me out. Ended up buying a box of them. So I got a whole box of them. I got about 5 left. So I kept the box. It sits on my desk. And my wife came in there one day and she's like, what are you doing with the box? I said, one day I'm going to get to meet up with Tim again and I'm going to talk him into signing the box for me. So it sits on my desk. So, but I'm not somebody who's into a lighter flavored cigar, but like you said, that cigar had a lot of flavor behind that cigar. So it was a cigar that I enjoyed that night.
Well, Charles, just to give a shout out to our friends at the Smoke Pit in Knoxville, which is where we met. I heard
and that's where
they
we
were
got your new cigar from.
Yeah, they're amazing. I love them. And what I heard that they did was that they had some empty boxes, and they sold the empty boxes for like, I don't know, $30 a box.
Oh wow!
And she sold them out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're right. You're in Knoxville. Everybody wanted that cigar. I mean, when that cigar sold off of every shelf, people were literally looking and posting on Facebook Marketplace, do you have this cigar? Can I buy it? And, people were, instead of people saying, yeah, I'll sell it for like $20 a cigar, they were like, no, I've got some. You're not getting them. No, thank you. So,
well, that's why, like, to be honest with you, I've always like loved Tennessee and I've loved Nashville, is that like there's something special about here that like the populace here, if they know that you're like a legit Tennessee based company and you make a good quality product, they're like proud to support you.
Yeah, they're going to support you.
And I mean, I think that that's really like, that's one of like the hidden factors about Tennessee that I really love and value. And, I'm proud to say that I'm a Tennessean, that, you know what I mean? Like, and so, really, the other thing that was interesting about that product was that like the whole state wanted it, not just Knoxville.
Yeah, it didn't matter if you were a Memphis Tigers fan or you were a Vanderbilt fan or a Vol fan. Everybody wanted that cigar.
Yeah, I mean, I think, listen, when I went to college at Southern Cal, even for me, there was a deep sense of pride. I always wanted to see Tennessee do well because that's my state, and so the Vols, especially when you're further away from, I think, Knoxville, it's sort of like they're kind of in a lot of ways carrying the flag for the state. They're representing our state. And so I thought that was like really cool that the whole state was like, I mean, especially in a rivalry game against, Alabama, who'd been so, let's face
dominant.
It, Alabama's, yeah, they were so dominant. And, such a historic juggernaut that it's almost like, I don't want to say it's David versus Goliath, because it's not David versus. I mean, UT is a strong team. Let's face it. So it's not like David versus Goliath. But I mean, you've got like you're against kind of like the ultimate kind of juggernaut,
Right.
And Alabama had won like I think maybe 19 games in a row until Tennessee beat them. So it was kind of
it's almost like Superman and kryptonite.
Kind of one-sided.
Alabama was always that kryptonite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So to get that monkey off their back was a big, I think, sigh of relief, I think, for like most Tennessee fans and most people that were in the state. It became like kind of a common cause to celebrate, So, now it's too bad that I mean, hopefully Tennessee can rebound from, their quarterback leaving. But I think probably they will, just because
I think they're fine.
I think they're fine. I mean, I don't know, Charles, you might know what's the word on the street over there.
They are very happy to move on right now. I mean, the fans around here are upset with everything that's happened. Every business on here was burning jerseys. His new name is Nick I'm a leaving. Yeah. So
but I'm sure there are other options. They probably have other good options, right? I would imagine.
He ended up getting signed with. Who did he get signed with? Was it USC? He got signed somewhere out west.
No, he went to.
And the quarterback.
He went to UCLA.
Okay, the quarterback from there transferred to Tennessee.
And I'm sure that he's good, right? I mean, Tennessee, Tennessee's coach is very, very good and very offensive minded. So probably my assumption is whoever the backup is going to be good.
Oh yeah, gotta be.
It's really funny that Rob posts right now because I was just going to comment. Rob's one of our brothers, big Alabama fan. I could not be happier that Tennessee beat Alabama. I mean, it's Alabama. It's kind of like the fucking Yankees. Like nobody wants to see the Yankees
right,
win.
right,
I mean,
right.
Who wants to see the Yankees win? They always win.
Right. Yeah. It's like, yeah, no, listen, he's not wrong in his comment when he made it. It's like, okay, it's not
Right.
not as big of a deal if Alabama were to win versus Tennessee. He's not wrong about that.
Correct.
I mean,
Correct.
it's like the Lakers or it's like the Yankees that you said appropriately. I mean, it's that's just sort of like the New England Patriots kind of became like that in pro.
Yeah,
Maybe not so much
100%.
anymore. You know what I mean? Like when you see the same team winning over and over and over, like I think it becomes natural that people kind of, want to see them lose because they just. For me, I just like to see I'd like to see somebody different win it every year because I always want to cheer for the team that has never done it before. They just,
Right.
it's just you could see the emotion in their faces when it actually happens for them.
The underdogs and the ones that have never been there, man. The ones that are playing for the right
Yeah.
reason. That's what it's all about. That's why I
Well,
love
it's like the
college
same.
football.
Yeah, it's the same thing with look, the Detroit Lions, right? I mean, when they were good last year. How many years have Detroit Lions been not relevant? So
Lions
it's
been like the
natural.
Falcons. They try their best, but they just can't do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of like I think it's almost like natural for humans to want to cheer for the little engine that could.
Yeah, I love you too, Frank. Friggin' busting
I
on me
will-
about the Phillies.
I will absolutely say that. I don't like the Phillies, but so you talked about the trilogy, and I like that you call it the trilogy between the three cigars. You have a different line of cigars that has a special meaning. So you have the Pi Synesthesia line. So there's a lot of people that don't understand what Pi Synesthesia is. They don't understand how your father got into painting things in the aspect of Pi Synesthesia, and they did. And let's go into. I think you've released now your third blend currently in the Pi Synesthesia line. So let's kind of talk about that.
Yeah, so my father, like Mick had mentioned, had painted last 10 years of his life, like 500 paintings. And a lot of them, since my dad was an engineer, he was a passionate mathematician. And so he appreciated the number pi because it was to him a fascinating number that was always infinite. And then he found out that some people have this condition called synesthesia, which most people don't have. But I mean, like if I say a number to you, you think of a color, or you think of a musical note comes to your mind, or a flavor. Those are like the three most common for people that have this condition. So my dad thought that was interesting, and so he's like, "Well, I will create my own synesthesia. I will make the number 3 yellow, the number 1 red, the number 4 brown." And so he painted like 3.14, assigning 3 yellow, 1 red, 4 brown, and so on to these numbers. So he painted a series called Pi Synesthesia. And then when I was working on the Bosphorus blend, there was a gentleman I was working with who had synesthesia, and he said that his synesthesia was more around flavor. So I was like, okay, why don't we make a cigar that looks and tastes yellow, which 3 was the first number in pi, and my dad always made 3 yellow. So we wanted to make a cigar that looked yellow, that had like a Connecticut Ecuador wrapper, let's say in this case, and then the taste, we wanted it to be yellow too, meaning more kind of creamy, buttery, that kind of thing. And so we did a limited edition run of those, and then the next year we did red. So we wanted that to be more kind of spicy and kind of more around roasted meats. And then this one is brown, so more like cocoa nibs, chocolatey, maybe some coffee hints to it too.
So that's the one that I haven't been able to find around me is the brown. So that's the one that I'm looking forward to trying.
Yes. And so that's one that we had out this year. And so that's kind of like a limited edition fun project that we do from time to time. I mean, I'm not saying that you know, I don't know if we do it every year or not, but we'll see how
Oh,
that goes.
keep
Yeah.
going. So, what's the next number and what's the next color?
3.14. We're not gonna repeat right now. 1.5.
Okay.
So five is the next one, and 5, I believe he did blue. So that's gonna be a tougher one to think about. Like, what does blue taste like?
Okay, so off the top of your head, what does blue taste like? And don't say you're going flavored and going blueberry. No, don't do that.
Well, you think of like, there's actually some nuance about blueberries that's quite good. I mean, it's blueberries.
I'm just talking about the flavored cigars that everybody tries to make blueberry.
No, you won't want to do that. I mean, we may do something that, like, blue feels more cool to people. I mean, so it's usually something that you discuss kind of philosophically. What does blue mean? When people think of blue, what kind of comes to mind? Blue is more
Cool,
of
relaxed.
yeah, cool, relaxed, smooth. You know what I mean? So we don't like doing, we don't, for that line, we won't do any flavored cigars. It's just all about, like, what does that flavor kind of mean? So we'll probably take our time with that one. That's going to be a more difficult one to tackle.
So 2025 will not see a blue.
I don't know. Maybe not 2025. We may take a
Okay.
year off and really work on that one. Because we want it to make sure that it's like
It sounds like it's going to be
right.
difficult.
Yeah, it's going to be more difficult.
I will say the red was my favorite so far. I also have not been able to find the brown, but the red was outstanding. And I will also say, I'm not going to say the brand, but there's only one decent blueberry cigar out there, so I'm just going to leave it at that. And blueberry is probably not the way to go.
Yeah, we probably again won't do a flavored cigar. It'll probably be like, what are some nuances, or what's the feeling you want to get when you think of blue?
Norm says brown was great. So let's talk about the new one. There's a new one that we tried to go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think that, like, if you go to cigarpage.com, they still have some left.
Okay. I'll check that out. So you have a new one out. We tried to get that one to Mick. I've got one in my hand. I was going to be mean tonight, and I was going to light up that cigar and look at Mick and just smile the entire time as I was enjoying this cigar, but I couldn't do it. Mick is such a good person that he wouldn't do it to me, so I didn't do it to him, but he does have some on the way to him. And so what is the new cigar? A new line of cigars that's going to come out, or is it now the 4th cigar to back up the trilogy?
Well, again, at CAO, we liked working in threes. My dad was always a big proponent of, like, working in threes. That formula he
Same
always
here.
kind of said that he liked. So we'll probably do a trilogy around that identity. And that's more about, like, really putting at the forefront. We're calling our cigar line now Oz Family Cigars instead of Ozgener Family Cigars, because Ozgener is tough to pronounce. Oz is not. So
Mick,
we're calling
thanks you
it,
for
like,
that.
yeah, we're calling it, like, now Oz Family Cigars, just for ease of pronunciation primarily. And so the next one is called Caratoba. Cara, at first, honestly, I wanted to call the cigar Black, because the very first cigar we did at CAO was called CAO Black. But, I'm in the field a lot doing these, like, component tasting, behind the blend tastings, which I really enjoy doing. And I noticed that there were a lot of cigars on the market that use the moniker Black. And in fact, I was doing an event at, in Texas, and I noticed that, like, there were some even paintings of some cigars that said Black. And I was like, this is a sign. We shouldn't call it Black. It's just, it's not special anymore. It's not unique. And we pride ourselves on being creative. So what can we call it that's not Black? And also it's easy to pronounce. So the word black in Turkish is kara. It's actually pronounced kara, but here we knew everybody's going to call it kara, which is totally fine. And then the most, we also wanted to use a wrapper that was Sumatra seed Ecuador, because we hadn't worked with that wrapper before. It's a really good tasting wrapper. We wanted to use that component, Sumatra seed Ecuador. And so when we did a little bit of digging and research, we found that the most volcanic lake, ironically, in the world is Lake Toba in Sumatra. And so even though this tobacco is not Indonesian tobacco, it's Sumatra seed Ecuador, we thought that when you put those two names together, Caratoba, that it's easy to pronounce and it rolls off the tongue pretty easily. And let's go for it. It's harder and harder to find a unique name to trademark. A lot of times you fall into trademark issues, and rather than having to panic and come up with a name that we didn't feel good about, let's try some different combinations. So in this case, Caratoba, we thought like it was easy to say, rolled off the tongue, and had some relevance in the title to the tobacco because it's a darker tobacco. There are darker tobaccos in the fillers, and also we wanted it to be a spicier cigar that had like well-rounded flavors to it. So therefore, that's why we called it Caratoba. It's made at Noxa in Nicaragua, and the factory owner there, Gustavo Cura, is an amazing person, very easy to work with, and they're making outstanding cigars at the moment. And we also felt like the flavor profile coming from that factory at the moment is really kind of hitting home with a lot of people that are enjoying cigars at the time. Heavy on, it's got a Sumatra seed Ecuador wrapper. The binder's Nicaraguan. The filler is predominantly Nicaraguan with a little bit of Dominican in there. So we said, okay, but most importantly, we fell in love with the blend because I like cooking a lot. I got into cooking before the pandemic, actually, as a means to get the family together for the one time. So I have two boys that are like 19 and 17 now, but this was, years ago when they were younger. And I figured I could be creative while I'm cooking. And if I mess up, I'm only messing up for like 3 other people. But if I can create something good, it's in a lot of ways similar to creating a blend for a cigar. And so, I equate the cigar to like when you have a homemade bolognese sauce that you slow cook all day, or if you have a meat that you're putting on your grill and you're slow cooking the meat, and how those spices combine with the savoriness of the meat and how it delivers to a lot of different points of your palate. I think the cigar, I equate it to that. So I think it's an excellent cigar. I smoke it all the time right now, and I'm really looking forward to the cigar smoking connoisseurs trying it. I think that it'll satisfy them. And we launched it at the trade show a few weeks ago in New Orleans, and the response we got was very positive. So I'm looking forward to you guys trying it.
Every person we've talked to that has tried it has been blown away, and they said it's and trust me, your other blends are amazing. Like I truly enjoyed what I had earlier tonight. But from what everybody's saying, like this is just another level, and I'm super excited to try it. It'll probably go on my trip to Aruba with me in like 2 weeks, and I'll be sending you guys pictures from the beach smoking it for the first time. It's kind of my plan. But
and just so you know, Charles knows this, is that like the box, I sent one box to Smoke Pit for Charles to get, so that he could also send some to you. Would the objective be for us to smoke it on this podcast? And unfortunately, Charles got it, but Mick, you weren't able to get it in time.
Yeah.
But that's the only box that's like on the market right now. We're waiting to get the first shipment in. We're hopeful to get it. We're hopeful to get it either the last week of May or the first week of June, that we can ship out to the general public, to retailers.
Well, we do a lot of promoting, man. Not that you really need it, but I mean we truly love great cigars and great people, man. And I'm excited as hell to try it, man. Everything you've ever had your hands on, man, we've enjoyed. So I'm excited to try it, brother.
Oh, thank you. And by the way, that's also like we did the same thing at CAO. I like to go in the field a lot, and I ask all the stores that I'm at, like, what are customers liking right now? What's the flavor profile? And then I'll buy cigars from them. and then I'll smoke them. And then that helps me with understanding what's the current market, where are the consumers at, what are they liking, what type of flavors, and then you just try to meet the moment as best you can.
Absolutely. So speaking of cigar stores, I know I might be kind of jumping out of turn here, but I don't want to forget. So tell me about the Cigar Vault Oakdale story. It's
Yeah,
time. I think it's time.
So they're amazing. I went over there, and like you said, Norm is amazing, and they were very hospitable. And I went and did an event over there like the week before our trade show in New Orleans, and they had a packed house for our Behind the Blend event that we did there. And we have an amazing salesman named Jake Sanders, and Jake is known for like he has a cowboy hat. He has many cowboy hats that he wears, and he's a very he's got a big presence and a charismatic guy. And I'm at this event, they're all sitting at this long table, the consumers, and we're going through this component tasting, and I'm talking about it. And there's two gentlemen across from where I'm speaking, and they are laughing uncontrollably. And I'm like, I had to stop. I'm like, okay, what's so funny? And the guy said, look, and Jake at the time was wearing a black cowboy hat and like a khaki colored shirt. And he said, Jake looks just like this guy. And and I'm like, oh my God.
He actually does.
That's
And
phenomenal.
100%.
And this is a wrestler, who was like retired long ago. He may have passed away, but he started laughing, and I was like, oh my God. And I started laughing too, because Jake was wearing that exact outfit, and he's like, you just got to get him a branding iron. And I was like, oh my God, you're killing me here. And so that became like a hilarious kind of and I'm trying to see. You
So
can't see it
since you're
now,
in
but I mean, like this is like hang on. This is like Jake. You see him, he's on the microphone talking. He has like the black cowboy hat for
Holy
a
shit,
second,
it's
and
him.
like
It's definitely
It
him.
is.
and I'm like, oh my God, here he is talking in front of the group. Right. And I'm like, that is like unbelievable.
That's
I'm
phenomenal.
like, and so that became kind of like the running joke of the night, is that, here's Jake, and he looks like this wrestler. And even when Jake saw it, he's like, screw you. Was his
So
reaction.
since you're in Nashville, you have the ability to find people who do this. You need to get him a miniature branding iron that has the OZ logo in there and have him take a picture holding that little bitty branding iron.
Oh my God. We had the last night of our trade show, we all got together for a team dinner, and I had a bunch of gag gifts. And so for him, I got him a bowler tie that had like, cowboy hat and boots on it. That's pretty cool, actually. So yeah, we had a lot of, and I showed that picture to everybody, so they have a good chuckle about it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but
So
Cigar Vault was great, and I mean, I have to say, to give them a shout out, that it's impressive and it's inspiring when you find a new store with young, passionate cigar aficionados that are able to garner the following that they've done. So, it's not many stores that can say that, but I have to say that the guys at Cigar Vault and Norm and crew, I have to give them a lot of credit and tip my hat off, if I had a cowboy hat on, to them for like really kind of doing an extraordinary job, and also really clever job of marketing their store too, because they have a vault door because it used to be a bank, is what
Yep.
they told me. So
Yes.
so
They
they're
jumped on.
really like, yeah, they're really amazing, really amazing guys, and an amazing work that they've done. And that's what keeps you kind of motivated, is to see young, new blood, passionate, bringing like new energy into this business. We need stores like the Cigar Vault. So kudos to them, and I wish nothing but all the best for them, and they should be hopefully inspiring to other stores
Yeah.
that want to open. If you want to open a store, go and talk to Norm and the guys at Cigar Vault.
I am so pissed that I have never actually visited there. I lived in Pennsylvania my whole life, and I think we just kind of missed timing because I spent a lot of time in Pittsburgh. I go to a lot of Penguins games out there and what have you. But when Norm reached out to us about sponsoring, I was like, man, this guy is amazing. Like he's been helping us out every step of the way, everything that we're trying to do. And obviously we're promoting them, they're promoting us, and it's a shared venture. But Norm's amazing. Miguel made me laugh so freaking hard when we had them on the show, and Johnny, he was great. Like everybody's been amazing at that place, and Charles even wrote their tagline that they now use. So I mean, like it's all kind of coming around, but those guys are absolutely amazing, and we appreciate everything they do for us in the show. But you're right, man. They're passionate about what they do, and they have a great time doing it. They're really on the leading edge of what a lounge should be, in my opinion.
Well, and also like the thing that they understand very well is that they want to create an environment that people can go there and unwind and have fun and laugh. And one thing my dad taught me is that it is very important that the customers, they have a good time. And Norm and crew, they know that. And they're all about creating an ambiance and atmosphere where their customers can bond over a cigar and enjoy life and forget about their worries over a cigar. That's what it's all about. And that's part of why I love the cigar business.
All right. So one of the last things that we do when we do an interview is what we call hot box questions. It's 10 random questions that we like to ask. Some of them are just generic questions that we ask to everybody. Some are personalized to you, but the questions can be as quick as you want to spout them out or as in depth as you would like to have them. So as we always ask every guest that we have on here, are you game to play Hotbox questions?
Of course.
All right. So before we do Hotbox questions, let's thank the sponsor for Hotbox questions, Beard Apothecary.
Hey guys, listen up. Give your beard the VIP treatment it deserves with Beard Apothecary. They are a small business on a big mission, crafting top-tier beard care products made by hand in small batches for ultimate freshness and care. A healthy, well-groomed beard isn't just a look, it's a lifestyle. That's why they use only the finest premium butters and oils to deeply nourish your beard and skin. No more dryness, irritation, or those dreaded split ends. Your beard will be living its best life, soft, manageable, and downright irresistible. At Beard Apothecary, they believe in the power of natural ingredients and serious pampering. Why settle for basic when your beard can be freaking legendary? Check them out at beardapothecary.com or on Instagram at beard_apothecary. Your beard will thank you.
And a huge shout out to Beard Apothecary. We love absolutely everything that you do for us, with us, and we are not only people that want to, push people towards your product, but we are people that use your product on a daily basis. We have been converted to 100% Beard Apothecary fans. It is the best product on the market, and as it says in the copy, it's 100% natural, no chemicals, no additives. Everything that it takes to make your beard look as fantastic as Mick's, not mine. Mine does not look fantastic.
It's damn amazing. I use it every day. So awesome stuff.
All right, so Hotbox questions. Mick starts us off with the first question. Mick, what do you got?
All right, so I like starting it off with a weird one. So what is your least favorite sound?
Probably I can't stand the nails on the chalkboard sound. That's awful.
Agreed. We always
question number 2. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna say we always get interesting answers on that one. It's basic, but I agree completely. So I mean, I love it.
Terrible.
It's terrible.
Question number 2. Fill in the blank for me. Cigars is all about what?
I mean, I think cigars is all about flavor. It's all about kind of the nuance of flavors that you get on your palate. And the more that you smoke, I say this often, I feel like if you're a cigar connoisseur, then you don't realize it, but it actually elevates your palate, where it sensitizes your palate, where you won't know it, but all of a sudden you will notice you have a elevated palate for wine, for food, for bourbon, for anything. So I think actually cigars are an accelerator for your palate that makes your palate more refined. You know, you can if you can taste different nuances around cigars. I used to say that cigar people have very sensitive palates and are aficionados. So therefore, if you have a cigar and people like it, then you want to make sure that you don't change it, you know, because you change it, people will notice that there's a difference.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I gotta agree with that too. I mean, it's something that I used to, just for instance, I used to hate whiskey and bourbon because of bad experiences I had, growing up with whiskey and bourbon, and now that I'm a cigar smoker a lot more regularly and developing my palate, I actually have found a place for that, in my palate, and it's amazing. Yeah. All right, so question number 3: do you have a favorite band or artist?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a big U2 fan all my whole life. As I've gotten older, I've grown a deeper appreciation actually for the Grateful Dead. I think that their music is really great, really almost these are virtuosos that are playing, that have played and are playing now. Um, so I would probably say, like, interestingly, I had the opportunity to see the Grateful Dead when I was living in California with Jerry Garcia, and one of my biggest regrets is not seeing them when he was playing. I've seen them since then with Dead and Company, but I would say that, like, those two bands I have, like, I like the Beatles too. I like the Stones too, for similar reasons. But I'd probably say that, like, probably you know U2 and the Grateful Dead are two that, like, stand out for me.
So, question number 4: what is your favorite guilty pleasure?
Again, as I get older, because of cigar smoking, I like dark chocolate a lot, you know? Like, a lot of times I might just have a little bit of that after I eat a meal, just because I like the kind of the deep, rich, layered, uh, thickness of that flavor on my palate. And so therefore, I think that's an interesting thing. I mean, I like drinking coffee that is black, and I like darker roast coffees, Um, I just like that kind of flavor profile. Even I like even the same thing with, like, the wines or even the bourbons I can appreciate too. That have that kind of things that kind of, like, envelop your palate. Uh, I think are, like, really interesting, so I'd probably say that.
We should hang out more often. I agree completely on all bases.
Oh yeah.
All bases. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
all
yeah.
bases.
I just find it, like, really kind of, you could have one small thing of dark chocolate, and it's very
Yep.
satisfying, you know.
Absolutely. That deeper, darker flavors for me. Everything in life seems to be like that's where it leads me. So
I think that
uh,
I think it's not an irony that you say that, Nick, because I find that, like, again, we're cigar smokers. We love cigars.
yeah,
These are things that are in the same kind of, I don't know. They're relatable.
they definitely are. Absolutely. All right, so here's the one that Matt Booth called me many names on. I always lead it off that way. Is cereal a soup?
No, I don't know. No, I mean, I used to eat a lot of cereal when I was younger. I don't eat any cereal anymore. I love soup, But I mean, but no.
I always try to sell it by saying it's nutrition in a liquid, and some people buy it, some people don't. But it's all right. I'll let you go on that one. I'll give you a pass.
Yeah.
So, question number 6: what is the one thing in your life that you're most proud of?
Definitely, I would say my kids. Like you want to make sure that, like, I had the benefit of having a really good parents, and I always was raised with the value of being a good parent. So I'd probably say my kids. I think my 19-year-old. He's a really kind of kind, empathetic, smart, hardworking. Almost, to be honest with you, and I feel like it's almost maybe my family trait. Both my boys tend to be a little too hard on themselves. Sometimes I tell them, this it's okay. Give yourself a high five. I mean, don't be so hard on yourself. And then my 17-year-old he's a wonderful young man too. He's a really another kind of like strong-willed, independent, hardworking, but kind-hearted young man. So I'd probably say at the end of the day that it'd be my children.
You definitely can't go wrong with that answer, man. That's where.
And they also both like cigars a lot. I've had them help me at trade shows, and it's funny. They said to me, they go, "Dad, will you teach us how to smoke cigars?" So I did. I said, you don't inhale it. It's about bringing it to the back of your palate and tasting it and blowing it out. And so I said at our trade show, I said, your job at the trade show is to help our salesmen. So whenever they have customers and they want samples, you find out what samples they would like. You put them in a Ziploc bag, and then you give it to them, and you say, "Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am," and that's what you're going to do. And you don't need to act entitled or anything like that. You're just going to dare, to the customer is king, and you're going to give them excellent customer service. And then they were smoking cigars back behind the booth, and I'm looking at them. I'm like, guys, you guys are like chain smoking cigars. I didn't ask you to smoke all the damn samples. I asked you to give the samples out when the customer wanted them. And then they're like, Dad, this is so cool. We can taste the difference between cigars. I'm like, that's great, but take it easy a little bit,
That's amazing. I actually have 2 daughters, and both of them have smoked a cigar with me. They're 20. My daughter turns 22 on Thursday, so I need to give her a shout out during that show. And my other daughter is 26 now, and they both smoke cigars with me. And they don't love them like I love them, but they will do it because they love me. And it's kind of that bonding thing where we lay our phones down for an hour and a half, and we have that bonding moment. And it's been amazing. And they'll both always like, "What are we smoking tonight, Dad?" Every time we get together. So I get that, cool. Man, and it's amazing.
Yeah. Well, a cool little story is that, like, recently my son, he's a freshman in college, he's at Tulane in New Orleans, and they had a father-son weekend for his fraternity that he was pledging at the time, and he said, "Hey, Dad, can you send down some cigars? They want to smoke cigars at one of their like gatherings." I said, "Okay." So, of course, being Armenian, sometimes you get these cigars in these boxes, these shipments, and some of these shipments might get dinged, and the boxes might get damaged to the degree that you can't sell them because the boxes are like cracked. The cigars inside are fine. So my Armenians like inside was like, okay, send him the rejects, so send him the bro. So I sent like all these boxes that like we couldn't use for those reasons. And so we had all these broken boxes and, for his fraternity thing, but they all loved him. It was great. And also it gave me an opportunity because I was cutting and lighting cigars to get to know the dads and the sons, and that's the other beauty about cigars too, is that cigars are like an amazing icebreaker, and they're an amazing bridge where you can get to know people over a cigar. And I really missed that when I was away from it, because a lot of times so many people are running around like looking at their cell phones and not like connecting. And cigars are a great way you can get to know people.
Yeah, we say that all the time, man. It's a great equalizer, and it always brings people together, and that's a great story. That's a great story. All right. So, question number 7. So, I know we talked about it earlier. You used to do some stand-up comedy and some improv and
Yeah.
stuff. So, give us your best joke.
You know, I don't, I haven't done like jokes in a long time. I do like a lot of impressions. So a lot of times, like people in the cigar business, they ask me to do like a Rocky Patel impression, like this cigar is creamy, nutty, buttery, cocoa, coffee, hazelnut, walnut, pecan nut, peanut, all kind of different nuts, creamy, nutty, buttery. I can imitate Nick Perdomo. I keep going up and down like this because my watch is so heavy. I can't keep my hand up for 1 second. I'm gonna tell a joke about somebody's penis. I can go on and on.
That'll work. That is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. That works. You get a pass. That's fucking phenomenal.
All right, there you go.
I will say, I told you when I met you in Knoxville, I said one of my favorite things is when you start breaking out some of the impressions, whether it's other brand owners or it's your dad or whatever. So that's fantastic.
I do those two guys. They're both good friends of mine. So like I do it out of love and out of the fact that I do it because I respect them.
That's awesome. So question number 8, you talked about cooking. You got into cooking during the, I guess before the pandemic. So if you were going to make your family one meal, what meal would you make them?
Well, for me, like I don't know, my wife like doesn't like chicken so much anymore. I was gonna say like I do make a roasted chicken that I love. But during Thanksgiving I've actually gotten quite good with cooking Thanksgiving turkey. So like I like to spatchcock the turkey, meaning it's almost like the backbone is gone. And then I like to slow cook it on my Traeger grill with, particular spices after I've brined them for maybe like, a day or whatever. And so I love doing that. My kids love it when I do these potatoes that are like small new potatoes that I will boil and then I will smush them with the bottom of like a bowl to make them flat. And then I will fry them in olive oil and then put some chopped parsley over them, and I'll caramelize some onions and put the onions over them. And so my kids always request that, so I'd probably do that too. And then I have a salad that I make that has in a mortar and pestle. I will grind some anchovies along with some garlic and add Dijon mustard to it with olive oil and lemon for a dressing that is tremendously good. So I would do that as well. And then I have these green beans that are like mustardy green beans that I'll make too that have roasted walnuts that I'll do on the frying pan, and the beans I'll bake in the oven over a baking sheet, and then toss them in a combination of like Dijon and olive oil and some garlic in there and garlic powder. So I'd probably do that as like my meal for my family.
That sounds fantastic.
It's good.
I almost forgot. I saw you on Instagram cooking that one time. I should have asked a cooking
Yeah,
question
yeah,
myself. But
yeah.
that's awesome, man.
I also like those salmon that I do that I like too. That is like a baked salmon, but the dressing for the salmon is quite good.
Okay.
My wife would be so happy with that.
Oh yeah, mine too. Mine too. Our wives are literally the same person. It's kind of crazy.
Oh, it's funny.
But all right. So question number 9, my last question of the night. If you could have dinner with any historical figure, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Yeah, I mean, I would be interested to do one with Winston Churchill just because he was a big cigar aficionado. So I find that people that are cigar aficionados, you have this unspoken bond and respect with one another that I think is a huge X factor. And then also, I would think that like his leadership during a time of great uncertainty and stress would be interesting to understand how he went through that. And also, I might be interested in understanding how cigars played a role in that. as well. Because I would imagine that, like, my dad always said that, like, cigars is a bit like a meditation, and you don't realize it, right? Because you're inhaling the cigar. You are inhaling, you are slowing your breathing down, and then you exhale. So automatically you're relaxing. But at the same time, even though the point of cigars is not the nicotine, you want to ferment the tobacco so a lot of the tar and nicotine evaporate. And when that happens, then you can get into the true kind of flavor of the cigar, which has to do with the soil and what's the pH level of the soil, how that gets translated into the stalk and then into the leaves. No different than like wine, where you get the soil and the components of the soil go through the stalk and into the grapes, right? And so, uh, but yet still, when you are still fermenting the tobaccos and a lot of that tar and nicotine have evaporated, you'll still get a little bit of nicotine from the side of your palate. So I find cigars interesting in that, like, you are relaxing because of your slowing down of your breathing pattern, one. But two, there's a bit of a stimulant because you'll get still a little bit of nicotine from the sides of your palate. So you're relaxed, but at the same time, you're alert, which is why a lot of times when people are smoking cigars, you can actually be pretty productive, pretty creative, and also be a pretty good listener because you're relaxed, but at the same time you're stimulated. So I would be interested in understanding or trying to like pick up any sort of clues from a guy like Churchill on like how cigars may have helped him during these periods of unique and potentially world-changing moments of history. I'm not sure if him, from a personality standpoint, I would like him. I don't know. Probably though. But I don't know. I just probably him just because of those reasons.
The most detailed answer we've ever gotten on that question. I love it, man. It's amazing because it ties into what we're doing and it ties into history,
Yeah.
which is something Charles and I love, and we geek out over that too. So yeah, amazing answer,
No one's
man.
no one's ever really like kind of really. I don't know if there's ever been any study about that. Interestingly, um, we have an author in Nashville who is a Pulitzer Prize winning author and who is a historian and who is a massive cigar smoker. His name is John Meacham. And I was just with him this past weekend. I hadn't seen him in like 5 years. When he first moved to Nashville from New York, I initially became friends with him because I was told he doesn't drink. His one vice is cigars. And so when I saw him, it's like we connected like immediately. And, I think it's even for him, like he was writing a biography about George H.W. Bush. And before he did that, while he was doing that, I'm sorry, he was going to interview, President, George W. Bush. And he said, look, he's kind of, I need an icebreaker with him. And he likes cigars. Can I bring some of your cigars? Now, at this time, it was just, crowned heads because, obviously Mike and John were friends of mine for a long time. So I got a box of crowned head cigars to give to Meacham. And then he went down to interview, George W. Bush. And he said that it was a great icebreaker for him with George W. Bush. To go back, what we were talking about, Mick and Charles earlier about cigars being a great kind of bridge to get to know people. But, I think that for him, even when I'm around him, it's like we went to this, we were at somebody's house and it was before like a fundraiser for another arts organization in Nashville this weekend. And he was in this area outside smoking a cigar with like two other guys. So I went over there and obviously started smoking cigars with him too. So, right, it's like this automatic kind of bond. But here's a guy who's a historian. And by the way, he's writing a book now about Eisenhower. So, I think it's interesting to like connect with guys over that like, these are people that are reminiscing about history and historical events that have happened. And I would think that cigars serve as a stimulant for him during his writing process too, for the exact reasons that we talked about just a moment ago.
I would say so. I mean, that would be that's somebody that I've heard of, and that's probably something that allows him to relax, but also be aware enough to put his thoughts into words onto paper.
Right.
So
right.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So question number 10, in your best impression of your dad, what is the best piece of advice he ever gave you?
Well, listen, it is easy to give advice. Okay. Everybody will tell you, you should do this, you should do that. That is easy. Do it. Executing is more difficult. Everybody can give advice. It is free, it is cheap. But to execute is a different story.
That'll work. I like that one.
Phenomenal.
So a couple of questions really quickly. People.
Yeah.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
He actually gave that to my kids, and it was his last kind of words that he gave before, because he was suffering from pancreatic cancer. So then they gave him morphine that put him under, and he called me and he's like, "Okay, I am done. I am saying goodbye." And I was taking my kids to a soccer camp, and this was like in the beginning of June. And so then I said to my kids, "You're coming with me." And then they came with me, and then he gave them that advice, which I thought was like amazing, right? Because it was in his bedroom. He was very weak, but he said that like in life, people are going to give you advice, and giving advice is like, easy to do, to say, but it's hard to execute. You know what I mean? Like, so his whole thing was like, I mean, at the end of the day, that could be attributed to, you know what I mean? Like, follow your gut.
Right.
And you know what I mean? And like, don't listen to what everybody is going to tell you. You know what I mean? Like, maybe just listen to people that know you the best, and to, follow your gut.
That's awesome.
It's powerful, man.
Yeah.
So really quick questions. I know we need to let you enjoy the rest of your evening, but a couple of people, especially Norm, wants to ask, hey JD, what pie is your favorite and which color?
Green is my favorite color. And that's 9 that my dad did. Our primary color at Oz Arts is emerald green. Obviously, Emerald City for Wizard of Oz. I mean, I've always liked green, so green is my favorite pie color. Not to say that Candela is my favorite cigar, because absolutely it's not.
All right, so here's the next question. Odd question. Why don't manufacturers use Candela in their blends?
Because Candela used to be to make Candela, what you got to do is like, you pick the tobacco from the stalks. They're green. You tie them to a stick, then they go and they hang in barns, and then without adding any heat, over time the chlorophyll drains and it becomes like a brown color. If you wanted it to be Candela, you would artificially heat the barn to like over 90 degrees, and then that keeps the chlorophyll in the Candela. Typically, when you're using Candela for a wrapper, for me, I'm getting a lot of vegetal flavors. Like, think about steamed broccoli. Now, I like steamed broccoli, but I like it when there's a sauce or some sort of spices that are added to it, not necessarily steamed broccoli on its own, So I think because of the fact that Candela has like a really kind of, I was talking to a friend of mine last week when I was in Houston, who lives there, a childhood friend. And he said that he tried them and that he didn't like him at all. And why is that? And I was like, well, it's got this kind of, steamed, it's like steamed green beans or steamed broccoli without anything added to it. Now you could make it taste good because of what you pair it with, the fillers. And that could be equivalent to like what kind of sauce or spice you're adding on top of it. But typically, Candela used to be something popular in the 70s, and it's not as popular anymore. And I think it just has to do with like people's palates and flavor profile have adjusted. And were they drinking 110 proof whiskeys in the 70s? Probably not as much, right? So palates evolve and palates change, and I think that our palates have evolved and changed past like Candela being, you know, a popular thing anymore.
And the last question from the Peanut Gallery: what is your opinion on the CAO concert series?
I've never tried it, so I have no opinion about it.
There you go.
Listen, at CAO, we always blend stuff and name things based on like what is the tobacco. So Brasilia, the feature was on a Brazilian tobacco. Italia was, you know, a round kind of Italian tobacco in the filler, right? Because we didn't have wrapper for it. MX2 was Maduro times 2, double Maduro. Maduro wrapper, which was Connecticut broadleaf, Maduro binder. We never came out with a cigar called like Guitar. We never came out because even though we're in Nashville, that wasn't our identity and what we blended around. So to come out with a cigar called Concert, I never would have done, because that just sort of like, I mean, and I feel bad about like whoever did this, because I'm not here to make a pot shot at anybody, but we'd never call a cigar, Jingle, or we would never call a cigar like, I don't know, All My Exes Live in Texas or whatever. I mean, because it wasn't about that. It was all about like, what is the blend? What are the tobaccos? What are the combination of tobaccos? What's the star tobacco we're going to blend around? So, I don't have an opinion about, I don't even know what was in Concert, to be honest with you. But I'm not here to like take a pot shot at it, even if I just did. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I never tried it. When you're away from it, after you go away from something that is like you consider another son or daughter, I kind of divorced myself from it for a while. So I never tried it.
So one of the last comments I'm going to make before we wrap this one up, want to congratulate you. I know that Mike has retired, and he gets to go and enjoy the rest of his life in retirement. And you have now stepped up and bought, I guess, the majority shares of Crown Heads, and is now the new CEO of Crown Heads. So congratulations on that one.
Thank you.
Any thoughts on that new venture in your life?
Well, look, I mean, John Huber is president of the company and I'm CEO, and we work very well together, and we've worked with one another for, like most of my life. So, I mean, I have great comfort level, and, Adam Shepard is our COO. I've worked with him most of my life, and Miguel Chodell is our VP sales, and I've worked with him for a long time. So it's like a family, but that's what we had before at CAO. So really it's just about like,
it's a power team.
Yeah. It's just all about like, how can we grow the business and try to meet like what are the needs of the market around cigar smokers and people that like cigars, and how do we kind of produce like product that is excellent, unique product, and try to do it in a really kind of thoughtful manner. And, our whole thing is that we love cigars. We get a lot of joy and passion and pleasure about what we do. And we want other people to enjoy it too, which is why, even at CAO and now, we want to make the cigars affordable for everybody. Because we're not about like, we don't care about making $100 cigars or $50 cigars. We want cigars that are accessible for everybody, because we love them. It brings a lot of pleasure to our lives. And we want cigars actually to bring pleasure to more people, not less people, or not the most wealthiest people. We want cigars to be affordable and pleasurable for like all people. So we want to make cigars like that are excellent, no matter what the price point is.
And we appreciate you for that.
Yeah. And if there's going to be a cigar from us that's a more expensive cigar, then it has to have tobacco that is like just very rare tobacco that we blend around. And we'll communicate it like that. So that like if you're buying a cigar that is a more expensive cigar, the reason why you're buying it is because we only had one bale of this tobacco and we think it's good. If it's not good, then we're not doing it.
I will say, with the two of you in charge, I have no doubt it's going to be absolutely phenomenal, man. I've loved Crown Heads for a long time. I've loved everything that you produce for a long time. I mean, it's good stuff, man. So I have no doubt you guys can be successful. I do have one suggestion though. If you ever could talk John into making a fitted hat, because I'm a little bit of a weirdo and I only wear fitted hats, like I will buy every one that you make. So I'm just saying, just put that in your notes. I'll
All
take.
right, I'm
I'll
writing
take all
it down.
No, I need a crowned head fitted hat because it's the best designed hat ever. I just don't wear non-fitted hats. So I know I'm a little bit needy. I'm a little bit bougie. It is what it is. But I do love both brands, man.
By the way, and your
I just needed an Oz hat.
Okay, well, I'll have to send you those too. I made a note about sending hats for your promotion that you discussed earlier. And by the way, your next guest is Pete, and
Yes.
Pete and I have a connection because when I lived in LA, and we only sold pipes, one of the top stores was one in Sherman Oaks, California, called Gus's Smoke Shop, and the guy that ran it was a guy named Jimmy Hurwitz, and he actually sold our pipes really well, but he was not good at paying when he bought our pipes. So my dad would send me to a store because when I showed up, Jimmy would write me a check and I'd get it, and then I have to send it to my dad at CAO. And Pete was the clerk that worked at his store at the time. So I would go in, and here's this tattooed guy.
We have to say something about that one.
He was a tattooed guy, and you know, he was a really nice guy, and he obviously, like, you know, he was helping Jimmy and selling like pipe tobacco and also cigars and stuff like that. So I remember visiting Pete when I was a young and naive kid in LA, and so whenever I see Pete, it's I'm always happy for Pete and his success, and he's a great guy.
That's awesome. A big world, but a small world.
Yeah, you tell him I said hi.
I will. So, Mick, is there any questions that we left off that you didn't ask?
I actually crossed off every question tonight, which never happens. Tim led me right down a perfect road. It was awesome. I just want to say personally, man, I've been geeking out all night, man. Charles sent me a bunch of pictures when he met you, and I'm like, damn it, man. Like and that the same thing happened a few months ago when I met Neil Garcia and whatever. But anyway, we appreciate your time. We appreciate everything you do for the industry, and it's just an awesome, and it's an honor to have you on here, man. And it's been a lot of fun, man. A lot of insight and things that hopefully everybody learned a little bit tonight. And that's what we do, man. We have fun with this, and we greatly appreciate your time. And that's all I got.
Well, thanks, Charles and Mick. You guys are great. And Mick, I'll say I didn't hear that many geese in the background, so you did a good job scaring them off with your MX2. I think that combination did the trick. And I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts on your Caratoba that Charles has sent you. And Charles, I look forward to seeing you in Knoxville, man. I'm going to be there, probably doing 100%. Some promotions around the Cigar Game cigar. So
we'll be there.
Let's go, man. And you know, we'll stay in touch. And thank you guys for your time, and your questions were outstanding. I've done a bunch of podcasts, but you guys did an A+ job.
Well, is there anything that we didn't ask that you would like to get out to everybody? Awesome.
No, I think you guys did an amazing job.
Well, we want to thank you for jumping on here. We're going to give you the last little bit. Let everybody know where to find you on all your socials. Let everybody know what you've got, either that you want to promote that's coming out. The last little bit is all up to you. Let everybody know what you want them to know.
Well, look, I mean, I think if you follow us at like at Tim Ozgener, or at Oz Family Cigars, or at The Crowned Heads, you know, we always try to like put out some pretty kind of cool contents. We also have a podcast that we're doing, John and I, that is Oz Heads, that you can find on
Love
YouTube.
That podcast.
And thanks. And then also, obviously, I'm doing a Behind the Blend at Central Cigars in St. Petersburg, Florida. That's this Thursday. So if you're in the area or hear it or want to go check that out, that's great. We also have like a website at Oz Family Cigars where we list the events that are coming up. We're also going to be listing which retailers are going to be carrying the Cigar Game once that's in the fall. You know, we expect to like ship that out in September. So that's it. I mean, you know, thank you all very much, and look forward to seeing you in the future.
Thank you so much for jumping on here, man. We greatly appreciate it, and it's been a blast. So we hope you have a wonderful night. And we're sorry we kept you on so late, but we're not sorry as well, because we got so many great stories that we absolutely love. So thanks so much.
Yeah. You guys are really kind. Thank you very much. I appreciate you all, and thanks for having me on.
Appreciate you, brother.
Thanks, man.
All right.
Have a great night.
Have a good night. You too. Bye-bye.
And just like that, episode 29 has the interview part has completed. So, well, we thought last time talking baseball and cigars, we made a joke that dang, we're on here, really late. But I mean, how do you tell somebody with such great stories to stop? So
it was I know we say this a lot, man, but it's one of our better interviews. That guy's just awesome. He can tell a story. It was awesome. What a great night.
So we do have a couple of things to end up. We have the cigar review coming up. We do have some prizes to give away right after that. You have to be here for that one. I know we went long. Guys, if you're still watching this, we greatly appreciate you. Dang. You guys are awesome. Make sure that you're subscribing. By the way, we posted on here. We hit 200 on YouTube. We've been working for that one for a long time. So thank you to everybody who helped us get to 200. Don't know what I know Facebook, we hit over 100 today. Let's make sure that we blow up this one. We do know we have another interview with Pete Johnson coming up this Thursday. I know it's asking a lot for you guys to jump on and join us 2 nights in a week, but come on, help us out. Couple of comments. Cigar is great way to bring people from all backgrounds and create a great community and a way to talk and deal with mental health. 100%.
Absolutely.
Dan says, thank you for using my question. Interesting answer. I understand it, sir. Sorry, Robert, we didn't get to ask about the Nashville Herf, but I will send him a message and ask, because TriStar Herf Crew definitely needs to be a part of that one.
Oh, hell yeah.
JD says fitted hats are the best. Boo on that one. Dan says fitted hat. I prefer fitted hats too. What do you know about hats? Let's see what else. I need more branded hats. I only have a couple. Well, make sure you enter in the Hatpalooza, because we just had Hayes Gray Cigars send a message saying they're going to send some. And Tim just said that he's going to hook us up as well. So it'll be we hope to have the first Oz Family hats in. Let's see. Can't wait to be closer so he can buy the next cigar game stick.
Heck yeah. God bless you. God bless you.
Sorry, had to sneeze on that one. Greg says, great show. Awesome show. That was great. Hashtag Real Smoke, double hashtag. That one's not going to be entered. Congrats. Hopefully Facebook keeps growing. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I thought I was going to sneeze again. But if you didn't hear, Facebook said that now we did reach the 100 followers mark. We need to be 60 or 30 days older. So supposedly in a month I can apply again to be able to stream. So we do have a cigar to review. Are you ready to do that review?
Oh man, I'd love to.
All right, so before we do that one, and once again, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us this long. Cigar review next, prizes after that. Cigar review is brought to you by our friends and family over at the Cigar Army.
Tonight's cigar review is proudly sponsored by Cigar Army. The Cigar Army is a community brought together by their shared love of cigars, but bonded by something much deeper, their mission to give back to those in need. Through Operation Give Back, they honor the courage and dedication of our military and first responders, both active and retired. Their bravery and selflessness make the freedoms we enjoy possible, including this very moment to sit here, share a cigar, and connect with our Real Smoke audience. Every puff carries a story. Every draw is a tribute to their sacrifices. This isn't just about cigars, it's about gratitude, about compassion, and about giving back to the heroes who shaped our lives. Join them in the mission to make a difference, one cigar at a time. Check them out on Instagram at Cigar Army 3 or search Cigar Army on Facebook. Together, we can turn our passion into purpose.
I will say this, that I absolutely am enjoying the taglines that we have been putting with all these brands. I hope the brands enjoy them as much as we do. So,
Yeah. I will say
so
Cigar Army in a week from Thursday, they will be doing they'll be jumping on with us for a few minutes to promote an event. So we're looking forward to that. They're our brothers. They're always doing good stuff in the community. So looking forward to that.
Oh yeah, as the Kool-Aid man would say. Oh yeah. All right, so Mickey Mick, what you got?
All right, here we go. All right, so for the Oz Family Bosphorus, aroma from the body, I got sweet tobacco, a little bit of molasses, and some cocoa. Aroma from the foot, I got light earthiness, a little bit of hay, and some sweetness. Taste from the cold draw, I again got light earth, natural sweetness, and a little bit of pepper. The first third, sorry, I can't talk tonight. First third, I got a little bit of pepper, cream, hay, espresso, some caramel. On the retro, I got pepper and a little bit of oatiness. Second third, got dark chocolate, coffee, caramel, natural sweetness, and a little bit of cinnamon spice. Retro, I got pepper and nutmeg. Final third notes, I got chocolate, coffee, coffee, baking spices, natural sweetness. The retro, I got pepper and a little bit of nutmeg. I will say there's a little bit of waviness, no touch-ups. The construction was very good. It was solid throughout, man. Pre-let experience, gave it an 18 out of 20. Amazing construction. The beauty of it was awesome. The band, I love the band. You know, I'm a band guy. That art on it was awesome. Flavor enjoyment, 14 out of 15. Construction characteristics, Jesus mighty. I should just give up and go to bed. Construction characteristics, 27 out of 30. Smoke production and final thoughts, 32 out of 35. I would give it a 91. It was as badly as I talked there. It was a very good smoke start to finish. Didn't have any hard transitions in it, but it was solid throughout. The flavors were good. The smoke production was amazing. I really truly enjoyed it.
So I know we give you a lot of crap about not being able to pronounce some of the difficult words, but when you can't pronounce it and the, I mean,
I got nothing to say.
I love it. Absolutely love it. All right, so 91 from Mick. So what do I got? All right, aroma off the body, milk chocolate and the earth. Aroma off the foot, chocolate and dark fruit. Taste off the cold draw, sweet tobacco and fruit. On the light, off the light, sweet tobacco coffee with cream, slight woody. Retro coffee, oak, almond sweetness. Into the first, notes up front are espresso, almond, slight dark chocolate. Retro is woody mixed with almond, cinnamon, and a slight vanilla. Draw is fantastic. Burn is wavy, no corrections. Ash is slightly flaky, holding the entire third. Smoke texture is thick and oily. Coats the mouth and medium finish with a medium plus in strength. Into the second, notes up front is hickory, espresso, cocoa powder with a slight vanilla. The retro is earth black pepper, more espresso, nutty with a slight sweetness. Draw is still great. Burn needed a slight touch up. Now burning great. Ash is flaky, holds each third. Thick and creamy smoke that leaves a sweet and savory finish on the palate. Strength is creeping up to a full. In the final third, deep, bold flavors of rich espresso, charred oak, dark chocolate brownie, and a slightly nutty note. Retro is strong white pepper, charred oak, espresso, and a dark chocolate. Burn and draw is great. Ash is still the same. Smoke texture is thick and oily. Finish is long and savory. Strength has crept up to a full. the end of the second and into the final third is by far my favorite. Pre-light experience, the appearance, I gave it a 10 out of 10. Cold draw and aroma, 10 out of 10. Thought it was fantastic. Flavor enjoyment, first third. Flavor enjoyment, 14 out of 15. Smoking construction characteristics. Construction, I gave it a 9 out of 10. Draw, 10 out of 10. The burn, I gave it an 8 out of 10 just because I had to fight with it just a little bit in the front. Smoke production and final thoughts. Smoke production and texture, 5 out of 5. Overall experience, 18 out of 20. Would I smoke it again? Hell yeah, I would. Give it a 9 out of 10. That brings my score up to a 93. Mick gives it a 91. I give it a 93. Real Smoke Podcast gives the Bosphorus from Oz Family Cigars. I'm so glad that he said they're going with the Oz Family version of it. But Real Smoke Podcast gives the Bosphorus from the Oz Family Cigars a 92.
Hell yeah. Yeah.
Congratulations to Tim and everybody over at Oz Family.
Did you say that the final third was your favorite?
Midway through the second third into the final third. So not including the end of the final third and not including the beginning of the second third. It was that spot. If you could go into fourths, it would be the third fourth.
That makes sense. I actually thought the first third and the final third were my favorite. The middle kind of mellowed out a little bit, and I didn't enjoy it quite as much. But overall, it was outstanding.
Let's see. Rob says, hashtag past mix bedtime. 100%. Mine too, if you knew how my day was going. Dan says, excellent score. Thank you so much. Smoke Baroness, the winner of all things Rebellion, says, hashtag real smoke. And Mick Dunn Phonics.
I love you all.
Have we had the Versat by Oz? Yes, we have. Well, I have. I'm not sure Mick has. Yeah. Okay, cool. So prizes. Let's talk about some prizes. So tonight's prizes is one $25 gift card from the Cigar Vault. Make sure that by the end of the podcast, you have until probably around midnight. I would say they're going to change it first thing in the morning, but you probably have around midnight while Mick is ashing all over himself, or bugs are attacking him, or birds. He probably just got shit on by Goose. But go to cigarvault.com, use the code 15%. You know the drill, you know the deal. But they are giving an extra 5% off for tonight only because of their relationship with Tim. So go check that out really quickly. Go do that after the podcast. Get you some great Oz Family cigars. If you go search by brand names, look for the initials. That'll help you out. But tonight's giveaways are one $25 gift card from the Cigar Vault, as well as a 3-pack of cigars from Katie Cigars. So they are going to be our Meanwhile in Memphis sponsor again tonight. We will run their ad here in just momentarily, but make sure everybody gets in the Real Smoke podcast. If for some reason you don't see your name on the StreamYard tool, we can't help that one. Reaching out to StreamYard, it says when it spins, whether it's lagging on ours or yours, sometimes it doesn't show, but they say as long as you're using the hashtag, every name is in there. So please do that. Remember, you have to be in here to enter to win. We give you roughly about 30 seconds. Again, we are going to say that if we don't see it, we apologize, but we didn't see it and it's not on here. Hold on till everybody, or till the winner does come on here and say that they are here before you congratulate them. So help us out. No controversies this week. But Mick, thoughts about the cigar, thoughts about the guest while I go ahead and get this pulled up.
I think every week is a blessing we do this show, man. We have a lot of fun with it, and we continue to bring on some great people that we know has that history in the industry, man. And it's been so much fun. Tim was amazing. The cigar was amazing. I don't know what else I can say about it. I mean, really, it's getting those little insights and those little backstories, man, is why we do this, and it's just a great time every week, man. I appreciate spending the time with you and the questions that we keep putting out, man. It seems like we're doing an all right job. We got an A+ from Tim tonight, so man, I'll take it.
Yeah. By the way, guys, I haven't said this much on here, but do us a favor. These guys like Tim, Neil, and all those guys, they jump on here after a long day of work and busting their ass like we do all day long and spend 1, 2, Tim, almost 3 hours with us tonight. Do us a favor. Go and either send them a message or comment on something that they did or the post that we did and tag them and tell them thank you. Because it's you guys out there. You're the reason that they're jumping on here. They don't care about us. They care about sharing their information with you all. So do us a favor. Go tell them thanks. Help us out. Show some appreciation. Show some love on there. So here we go. The first one we're drawing tonight is the $25 gift card from our brothers and our family over at the Cigar Vault. So here we go. It says we are collecting 12 entries. They just updated, and around she goes. We are going to find out who wins today. The winner is Dan. Dan, do us a favor to be able to get this one. You need to send your name, your address, your phone number, and your email address as soon as possible.
Don't forget the urine sample. That's critical.
And urine sample, blood sample, and we need a sample of your DNA. So Dan is on here. He says, sweet. Thank you. So Dan is on here.
Dan's a bachelor this weekend. Dan, don't get in any trouble.
Dan, go get in lots of trouble. Do things that we would be ashamed of.
Yeah, and send pictures. I mean, maybe send pictures. I don't know.
All right. So here we go. We're going to do the next one. This is for the 3-pack of cigars from Katie Cigars. Katie Cigars, we absolutely love you for sponsoring this one.
Thank you.
Big Bear. Big Bear. Big Bear.
Did he win our last Katie Cigars?
Are you on here, Big Bear?
I think he may have won.
He should be the nice guy
last time.
Yes, if he did, he should be the nice guy that says, hey, spin it again, let somebody else try it. But let's see if he's on in here. He says he did win. Oh, he says, yes, he is here. All right. So we're going to give him the weird question of, do you want the cigars or are you going to let somebody else try them? Oh, I know that's such a hard decision to make. It's up to you. What will you decide?
Karma, Big Bear. Karma.
Since he won so much, he says spin again. That's the reason I love Jordan.
It'll come back to you, Jordan. I promise. We got you.
Dan says, who do I send my info to?
This guy. I'll take care of it.
All right. Jordan, thank you so much.
Thanks, bro.
You're awesome. Spin again. Who we got? If it pulls up his name again, we're all going to laugh. Presidente.
I love the name. I need to know about that sometime. Probably not after a 3-hour show, but I need to know about that someday.
Mr. President, some great cigars from KD Cigars. Cigars Unbanded says, congrats to the winners. Cigars Unbanded. I hope you had, I'm not sure if your guys' show is tonight, but I think it's Thursdays. But I hope you guys have a fantastic show on Thursday.
Yeah.
Watched it last weekend after ours. Mr. El Presidente says, sweet. Do me a favor. I need all that information from you again. Go ahead and send it to Mick if you want to.
I got you.
We need your name, your address, your phone number, your email address, your blood sample, the ID of your firstborn child, your wife's maiden name, and your security passcode to all of your debit cards. So, actually, we don't need any of the last bit of it, but we need the first part of it.
You should probably send Jordan a thank you as well. But Jordan, it comes back to you, brother. You know it does.
Cigars Unbanded says, every Thursday, thanks, fellas. Hey, Cigars Unbanded, let us know what time is your show and where can they catch it, and we would love to help promote that one. Put it in there. Dan says, laughy face, crying laughy face, because he doesn't have the words for this. My name not up there. I'm sure it was. Mr. Presidente says, thanks, Big Bear. Jordan, we appreciate you. I hope you enjoy. Hey, Jordan, I hope you enjoyed the cigars. I know you got to try them. I got to try them. Hope you enjoyed them.
Hell yeah.
So
they're good. They're very good.
While the awesome people at Cigars Unbanded goes ahead and posts their goodies up there. Again, if you post where they can find you and all that stuff, we'll post it on here real quick so people can follow you and watch you. Big Bear says, I appreciate you guys and congrats. He says he had one of the Katie cigars and it was fantastic. He said it was good. I enjoyed it.
Hell's yeah.
So we did not have any current news for Cigar Public, so we are not going to do cigar news, but we are going to run the ad really quickly for them. Why? Because we love cigar news. They help us out from Cigar Public. Cigars Unbanded says 9:30 p.m. Eastern on X, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, you name it, they're on it. Come watch them after you watch us on this podcast on Thursday.
We'll hopefully be done by that time. Well, we probably won't be, but yeah, we'll switch over.
So we can do a back-to-back on that one. Come watch us, hang out with us, and go chill out with Cigars Unbranded. They have a lot of people. They have a lot of people who are on that show, including Cigar Hound Dog, Master Your Ash. They have a lot of good people on there. So go check them out. Makes for a great show.
Really good show.
So really quickly, just to say thanks to Cigar Public, I do want to say these.
The news segment of the Real Smoke podcast is fired up by none other than Cigar Public. Dive into the world of cigars like never before at cigarpublic.com. Your one-stop destination for the latest cigar industry news, honest cigar reviews, whiskey articles, and so much more. It's everything you need to elevate your smoking game. Light up your curiosities at cigarpublic.com or follow them on Instagram at cigarpublic. Because life is too short for boring cigars and blend contact.
So huge thanks to everybody over at Cigar Public. We love what you're doing. We appreciate your support and we appreciate everything you do for us. The last little bit that we have to do is the wonderful, wonderful Meanwhile in Memphis. But before we do that one, I'm going to let Mick talk about who the sponsor is.
The sponsor for tonight's Meanwhile in Memphis is Katie Cigars. Katie Cigars, you can find them on Instagram at Katie Cigars or www.katiecigarco.com.
Huge thanks to everybody over at Katie Cigars. Why? Because you guys make some awesome stuff and we love working for you or working with you, I should say. And you guys do a lot to help out the podcast. You help push out our information and you help send us stuff. So we love that one. So Mr. Mick, are you ready for a little bit of Meanwhile in Memphis?
Yeah, pretty quick one tonight, and we'll get everybody off here. So I will preface this by saying that there were 47 shootings in the last 2 weeks in Memphis, and 17 dead. And most of the news stories are just that. And there's not a lot of funny ones, but I found one that I thought was pretty.
Did you find something that was more uplifting than just death and mayhem?
I don't know about uplifting, but it's pretty funny. So we're gonna go with that one, and then one off the Memphis Flyer, as I like to do. So all
right. So before we do that one, we got to play your theme song. This is
right,
this is Mick.
Meanwhile in Memphis, it's happening again. Meanwhile Meanwhile in Memphis, the sky turns wild. Stray gators and pools running free and wild. Some guys wearing mud boots with a suit on trial. Meanwhile in Memphis, let's stay here a while.
I mean, you have your own theme song.
I love it.
Come on.
Absolutely love it. I've sent that to everybody I know. It's phenomenal. All right, so meanwhile in Memphis, thief hits second store and takes over $9,000 in lottery tickets. Memphis, Tennessee. A man, after scratch-off tickets, hits 2 convenience stores in 2 days and gets away with over $10,000 in lottery cards, police say. MPD Wednesday morning said that the thief stole 19 boxes of lottery tickets worth over $9,000 from a Circle K, which, if I turn my computer around, it's right there, literally.
That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, this isn't even in the story, but think about this. All of them have a red flag on them right now. Dude can't even cash them in. I mean, it might be fun to scratch them, but you can't cash them in. They're all red flag. It doesn't even... anyway.
That's what she said.
So later Tuesday night, the same man stole an entire case of scratchers from the Circle K in a 1700 block on North Germantown Parkway. They did not release a dollar amount for that heist, so we're looking at probably close to 20 grand total in lottery tickets. Here's my favorite part. In both cases, the suspect went behind the counter, stole the lottery tickets, walked out with the entire case. He was wearing the same clothes. If you recognize this man or his clothes, please call this number. So they had... Apparently, he didn't hit on any of the lottery tickets because he's still wearing the same clothes.
At least make a disguise, go in as Batman, something.
He didn't even have any kind of face covering on. He wore the same clothes and literally walked behind the counter, picked up the whole case of lottery tickets, and walked out. It's crazy.
Dan says some people aren't too bright.
All right, so
Rob
this
says,
one,
if there were any serial killers on here, they might enjoy the murder and mayhem stories. He's just saying.
Did I mention I love you, Rob? Don't put me in the swamp. I'll be good, I promise.
Dang it, Bobby.
So I'm gonna. This one is out of the Memphis Flyer. They have a section called News of the Weird, and they do a weekly segment, which is awesome because I pull one thing from it every week. It's all around the world, but it's News of the Weird. So Leah Woodman, 32, of Bristol, England, suffers from a crippling fear. All right, so I'm gonna say the name of this fear, and I'm gonna have you guess at what it is. It is. I'm not the right person to be reading this, but
oh yeah, you are. You're 100% the right person, and I know what this is.
Mortu sequoiaphobia.
Say it again. Say it again.
Mortu sequoiaphobia.
One more time.
Mortu sequoiaphobia. Is it close? I don't know.
Nope.
So what do you think? What do you think the fear is?
I know what the fear is.
Okay.
It's the fear of...
Give him that huck to it. Spit on that thing.
Just say it. It's got to be that.
You're close. So instead of a white creamy substance, it's a red creamy substance. She has the fear of ketchup.
There's an actual fear of ketchup?
The New York Post reported on February 20th that Woodman likens seeing ketchup with being held at gunpoint on the trauma scale. I can't even look at a bottle or have it anywhere near me, she said. It makes me feel panicky.
That's what she said.
While her mother claimed she liked ketchup as a child, she can't remember a time where the popular condiment didn't upset her fully.
You gotta give him that huck to it. Spit on that thing.
She's been scared of that condiment forever, man. I've never
bet
heard
she
of
has.
A fear of ketchup.
That's just, she just scared of that one because of all the dirty guys.
Yeah. What happened as a child where you became scared of a
What
bottle
happened
of
in
ketchup?
your life that made you scared of ketchup?
Yeah.
Tell me about your trauma.
I envision her walking into a diner and being like, "What? No." It just, I don't know. It's crazy.
I know you got a burger and fries. Would you like ketchup with that? I mean, no.
Makes it hard to go out to eat, I guess. But,
That's what she said. Wait.
Meanwhile, Memphis.
She puts ketchup on everything.
She does not have. I'm not even trying it again. You made me say it 3 times.
Wait, what was it?
I don't know. I forget. I put my paper away. That's all good.
Do they have a cigar brand?
I will find out. I will email you.
Okay. Any cigar brands that you have trouble talking about?
Nope. None.
Nope. Oh, okay. Just checking.
Meanwhile, in Memphis, it's happening again.
All right. So, was that your final story?
It was. I had 2 tonight, man. I'm trying to keep it light because we got another episode this week. But thank you.
Please don't remind me. Well, actually, remind me. Dan wants you to say the name of it 3 times fast, as fast as you can. Wait,
I got it right here.
Come on.
There you go. There's 3.
And there it is. All righty. Let's see. What do we got going on? It is a doubleheader this weekend. We got 2 ball games that we are playing. And the first one was tonight, and I think we hit a home run. I think it was a grand slam. What do you think?
Amazing.
Guys, put it in the comments. Let us know what you thought. Was that a good interview or what? But this Thursday at the normal bat time on the normal bat channel, we will be having the one and only Pete Johnson of Tatawahe Cigars. And we will be smoking the Karloff. That was a cigar that we wanted to smoke, and we searched everywhere, had no hopes of finding it, and Mick just happened to find the last couple. So he saved us on that one. So huge thanks to Mick for that one. Great show tonight from Rob. Knocked it out of the park. Cigars with Angel. Thank you all so much. But make sure, I know we're asking a lot of you. We know that you joined us for right at 3 hours and 5 minutes tonight. Dan says, Mick, I'll send you my info. Good job. Great job following directions. You're awesome. Sorry. Just got to play with you.
Love you, Dan.
Love you, Dan. But join us again Thursday night with Pete Johnson. That's going to be a good show. He's been talking a little bit to us about some of the stuff that we've been doing. So we look forward to talking to him. What else? Thanks to everybody who signed up with us on our Facebook page. Thanks for pushing us over 100 on that one. Thank you for pushing us over 200 on YouTube. And really quickly, where do we stand on Instagram? I know we are getting so close to our next goal. Let's see really quick. Oh, phone, help us out. We are at 2,936. We are less than 75 away from being back at 3,000. We're still trying to get over that 4,000 mark. So we are a little over 1,000 away from being back to where we started when we first started this thing about 8 months ago. So help us out. Go do all the things as everybody would say on here. Go do the YouTube stuff, the Facebook stuff, and the Instagram stuff. Thank you guys for jumping on here tonight and spending 3 hours of your life that you will never get back. Just saying. So, Mick, wrap us up. And by the one more time, if you didn't hear the thank you music that we have to all of our fans on here, it will play at the end. You're more than welcome to sit and listen. I'll go ahead and play it through. Cigars with Angel. Last comment. Had you guys on TV and enjoyed the show? Guessing it's a GF account. Guessing it's the GF account. The girlfriend account, maybe? Cool. GF. All right. So, brother, close us out of here. Let's get out of here. Let's go to bed, wake up, and do this again in 2 more days.
All right, so people have already been on here for 3 hours, so I'm going to give you one more useless fact that you're not going to need to know, but one of the coolest numbers, Charles, that I think that we've hit so far, I looked today, and one 30-second clip from Sin with Dissident, I'm giving her a little shout-out here, 30-second clip is now at over 7 hours of view time on our Instagram page. 7 hours on a 30-second clip is at over 7 hours. Fucking amazing. So we need to get
That's
Sin back on.
awesome.
Apparently, that is so cool. My normal, amazing night. Thank you for all you do. It was every week I feel blessed, man, doing this with you and with our guests that we have on here, man. It's just been a great show. And take time this week and smoke a cigar with someone you love.
100%. Couldn't say it any better myself. Thank you guys for jumping on here. We will see you again in a couple of days. Mick, thank you for everything that you do. Thanks for dealing with my failed attempt to having two great guests in 2 weeks and accidentally putting them on the same week. Thanks everybody jumping on here. We will see you again in 2 days. Peace.
Thank you for tuning in. The Real Smoke Podcast makes us all grin. You light us up, you keep us strong. Cheers to you, we raise the song. Conversations deep, the stories fly. Ashes fall, with spirits high. The gas rolling, the bitters flow. You've kept us burning, don't let it go. Thank you for tuning in. The Real Smoke Podcast makes us all grin. You light us up, you keep us strong. Cheers to you, we raise the song. From the flame to the end of the night, you're part of the glow, you're part of the light. Mick and Charles with a laugh and a grin. This flame burns